Chapter 298. It was spring, and the weather was gradually becoming warmer. It was not like winter when snow was falling and the cold air was threatening. However, before the Death Legion arrived, there was a wave of coldness that completely enveloped the bodies of the generals, causing them to be stunned on the spot for a long time. In front of them, there was an unmelted ice sculpture that was so eye-catching. It was emitting traces of cold air, causing people to not dare to approach. This ice sculpture was a living person, and his expression and actions were very lively. There was no way it could be faked. If this was just an ordinary soldier who had been frozen to death here, no one would even look at him. However, the frozen person in front of them was not so simple. He was the playboy Hua Fengshan, who was ranked in the top 6 of the Black Hand list. Hua Fengshan had committed a total of 88 crimes. He had killed officials, robbed merchants, and killed kings. He had done many evil things, especially to beautiful women. Many of them had been harmed by him. The fact that he was able to live a carefree life proved that his methods were superb and he was powerful. In the Grand Xia, there were no more than 100 people who could reach the high level of King Realm. This group of people represented the highest level of martial strength in the Grand Xia. Right now, this King Stage powerhouse had been frozen into an ice sculpture in just a blink of an eye. How frightening was that? Fen Tianxiong was a top king level expert, but he did not have the ability to take down Hua Fengshan in a single move. From this, it could be seen that Hua Fengshan was frozen by a powerful cultivator. For half a month, I don't want any harm to come to my brothers and subordinates. If anything happens to them, you will end up like him. After Yang Wu said this, he took the valuables from the corpses of the Black Hand list and quietly left with Meng Bingxue. No one dared to say anything else. They quietly watched the two figures leave, unable to calm down for a long time. A heavenly realm woman. Someone sighed heavily and broke the silence. Fen Tianxiong came back to his senses and ordered, Sun Do and the Death Legion cannot be harmed. If anything happens to anyone, I will kill them. Jin Yin shivered and replied, Yes, Marshal. In fact, he was already crying in his heart. Although he didn't kill the members of the Death Legion, he did torture them. What should he do? Once Yang Wu returned, he would definitely be the first to find trouble with him. Go back and prepare for battle immediately. Chao Jianda gave the order. What do we fight? A general asked. Didn't you hear what Yang Wu said? Within half a month, I'm afraid that the barbarian race's army will be pressing on our borders. If we don't prepare now, it will be too late. Chao Jianda said. Then, he ignored the other generals and left first. Chao Jianda's actions were very clear. He believed in Yang Wu and placed everything on Yang Wu. If Yang Wu was not wrong, then he was not wrong. If Yang Wu was wrong, then not only him, but the entire Chao family would be completely finished. Risks and rewards coexisted in this risky business. Fen Tianxiong did not expect Chao Jianda to have such courage and felt depressed in his heart. There are people in the imperial court who want to get rid of Yang Wu, and this old fox Chao Jianda still dares to do this. Is he trying to provoke me? Yang Wu brought Meng Bingxue back to find the silver-patterned tortoise and fire cloud tiger, and brought them deep into the mountain range. This time, he decided not to appear before the barbarian army arrived. Little Wu, it's rare that you're not impulsive this time, Little Hay said while lying on Yang Wu's shoulder. What do you mean I'm not impulsive? Yang Wu asked. If this happened half a year ago, you would have killed your way in to save Shouho. Now, you're able to restrain yourself from saving him. It's already a big improvement. Then why don't you think I'm heartless? I can even disregard my brother's life. How can this immortal emperor not see through your little tricks? You and this woman purposely showed them a move to intimidate them. It's already very obvious. Yes, as expected, nothing can escape your eyes. Now, it's time for them to panic. Yang Wu entered a nameless valley. There were some spirit demons roaming around here. When the fire cloud tiger roared, these spirit demons were all frightened and fled in all directions. Several spirit demons were killed by the fire cloud tiger. After taking one for himself, he brought the rest to Yang Wu. Yang Wu roasted the spirit demons and ate. At the same time, he was thinking about what to do next. Everyone in the barbarian army knew that he had entered the barbarian army and returned safely. They had already determined that he was a traitor of the Great Xia. He believed that King City would soon receive this news, and his family's lives would be in danger. Fortunately, this time, there were some reckless people who cooperated with him. They allowed him and Meng Bingxue to show off their skills in front of the barbarian army. He believed that some people would have some misgivings and wouldn't dare to go too far. His parents' safety was also guaranteed. Now, what he needed to do was to wait calmly. When the barbarian army received the news, someone would definitely invite him back. He simply calmed down and cultivated his battle skills to increase his combat strength. He was prepared to return to King City. He had already mastered the volcanic finger to perfection. This was an emperor-level skill. It was very powerful, but the attack method was too simple. The sevenfold wild waves was a king skill that had been perfected. He had cultivated the first 3 moves to the great accomplishment stage, and the last 4 moves to the proficient stage. He could enter the great accomplishment stage at any time. He focused on this battle skill and used the soul-body fusion technique to cultivate this battle skill to the perfect stage as soon as possible. The Barbarian Beast Fist and Falling Moon Bow Art were 2 powerful battle skills. 2 days later, every move of the sevenfold wild waves had been successfully cultivated by Yang Wu to the great success stage. The power of each move was already very strong. It wasn't so easy to reach perfection, and he needed some time to cultivate. Yang Wu wanted to cultivate the battle skill to perfection, but Little He interrupted his cultivation. Little Wu, don't be in a hurry to cultivate. Let's talk. Little He said while lying lazily on a rock and basking in the sun. Okay. Yang Wu stopped cultivating and replied. You've already collected 2 types of mysterious essence qi, but you still have 7 types. Otherwise, you'll be stuck at your current level and won't be able to make any progress. You should think about how to find the 3rd type. Lil Hay said seriously. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Moreover, I already have a lead on the 3rd type. Woof, is that true? Yang Wu took out the ancient bronze eye and told Little Hay about some of the images he had obtained from it. He had taken the ancient bronze eye from a young king. He had never mentioned this to Little Hay, but now that Little Hay asked, he remembered to tell it. Little Hay jumped over and grabbed the ancient bronze eye. It flipped it around, and its canine eyes flashed as it said, "This thing has an extraordinary origin. Can you see anything?" Yang Wu asked. Little Hay replied, "This ancient bronze eye is made from the same material as your bronze cauldron. It's been separated by countless years." Yang Wu revealed a look of shock as he said, "It has such an ancient origin." Yes, if this place really does contain mysterious essence qi, then it must have an extraordinary origin. If you try to touch it with your current strength, then you'll definitely die. Little Hay said seriously. So what? Aren't I still going to find it? Yang Wu shrugged. Although that's the case, you can look for it later. Some of the 9 types of mysterious essence qi are relatively easy to collect, such as the Ancestor Qi and Frost Spring Qi you encountered. Little Hay said. After a pause, it continued. You can take this matter to heart. Right now, I want to tell you that at your current level, you also need to improve to the limit. Don't blindly pursue breakthroughs. Why do you say this? Yang Wu asked. All-powerful, peerless geniuses will pursue perfection in every realm. It's just like how you cultivate battle skills. Minute subtlety, proficiency, large success, and perfection. It's the same for realms. Normal people will constantly try to break through as long as they have a chance. They don't care about the stability of their foundations. This kind of breakthrough will often cause them to feel powerless at the critical juncture. If every realm is perfect, then your future will be truly limitless. Little Hay explained. Then it continued. Right now, your realm is still at a low level. The more you need to perfect your foundation, the more you need to surpass the limit. When you were on the heavenly stairway, did you realize that your potential was being squeezed out again and again? You must have gained a lot of benefits. Yang Wu nodded and said, "That's right. I feel that I have limitless potential. Then what should I do to achieve a perfect breakthrough?" The lower realms are still about the refinement of the body. You already have a spotless body and have unlocked your innate potential. What you need to do is much simpler than ordinary people. You just need to strengthen these potential innate talents one by one and refine them into your ultimate killer move. Ultimate killer move. It sounds very scary. Nonsense. Every potential innate talent represents a killer move. If you use it well, it's easy to kill people who are higher realms than you. Then what should I do? You're asking me about this. Who should I ask? I'll figure out myself. Yang Wu fell into deep thought. He really didn't think of using his potential innate talents to become an ultimate killer move. Now, after Little Hay's reminder, he felt that it was necessary to carefully think about the use of his potential innate talents. Right now, he had several potential innate talents. They were Wind God's legs, Ice Blade wings, Blue Enchantress, and Barbaric God's arms. There was also his sole potential innate talent. Because of the existence of the God's Court Dao flower, he still didn't know how to use it. Wind God's legs could increase his running speed. Ice Blade wings could increase his flying speed. In addition, it could be used as a sharp blade to launch a sneak attack. Blue Enchantress was Heart Fire, which could be used to refine pills. The power of the flame seemed to be quite good, but he didn't know how to use its lethality. Barbaric God's arms could allow him to cultivate Barbaric Fist and Falling Moonbow technique. Chapter 299. Potential innate talent was the hidden ability of every person. It represented that a person was outstanding in a certain field and could unleash power that others could not. This kind of innate talent was like someone who was very good at reading, someone who was very good at playing the zither, someone who had very good eyesight, someone who had very good hearing. These were all innate talents that belonged to an individual. Yang Wu being able to awaken so many potential innate talents was definitely very terrifying. It was something that others could not even dream of. It was just that he had never paid much attention to these potential innate talents. Now that he heard Little Hay's reminder, he felt like he had been enlightened. He really did want to study them properly and use them as his ultimate trump card. No matter how high level or powerful other battle techniques were, they would not be able to unleash the power of his own potential innate talent. They would be more perfect and powerful. Thus, Yang Wu calmed down and started to study these potential innate talents. He should be able to reap some unexpected benefits. First, he started to study Wind God's Kick. This was the potential innate talent that he had awakened in the beginning. Wind God's Kick was a speed potential innate talent that could help him run faster. Now that he could fly, his running speed did not seem to be as fast as his flying speed. So what was the advantage of this potential innate talent? Yang Wu pondered and channeled his celestial qi into his feet. He felt the changes in the power under his feet and thought about how he could unleash its advantage. Could it be that Wind God's Kick has no other advantages other than speed? That's impossible. It can also increase the power of the legs, and it should have a very good effect on leg techniques, just like the Barbaric God's arm. There's no mistaking it. After thinking for a while, Yang Wu had a new idea. Thus, he began to move his legs. Scimitar kick was a general skill and also a leg technique. Yang Wu had already cultivated it to perfection. He could continuously kick out 49 variations, and its damage was extraordinary. It was an offensive leg technique and could also increase his speed to a certain extent. Yang Wu wanted to integrate Wind God's Kick into Scimitar Kick. He wanted to see if he could increase the power of Scimitar Kick. If he could, it might be a way to unlock his potential. Yang Wu adjusted his movements and continuously kicked his legs, up and down, left and right, spinning and flipping. Every movement displayed the perfect variation of Scimitar Kick. Each variation had a different destructive power. In the beginning, he was unable to fuse the Wind God's Kick with his innate skill. He always felt that he was missing an opportunity. Suddenly, a light flashed in his mind. He captured the source of Wind God's Kick's awakening. It was the Yongquan acupoint under his left and right feet. They were emitting a bright light. Compared to the other acupoints, they were brighter and contained more power. Without thinking, he activated the power of the Yongquan acupoint to stimulate Scimitar Kick's attack. In an instant, the power of Scimitar Kick's attack skyrocketed. Bang bang. Wherever Scimitar Kick's power went, rocks exploded and trees collapsed. The increase in power had more than doubled. Yang Wu still didn't know. He was immersed in this pleasure. He found that by fully activating the power of the Yongquan acupoint, his legs became incomparably nimble. The power in his meridians became even more powerful and smooth. Whoosh whoosh. Shadow after shadow of a leg kicked out. The speed was so fast that it made people speechless. This was definitely much faster than before. After integrating Wind God's Kick's talent into Scimitar Kick, the power of Scimitar Kick had already surpassed the feeling of a general skill. It was simply terrifying. At this moment, Yang Wu felt that Scimitar Kick's combat skill was comparable to any imperial skill. This feeling was wonderful. It was as if his legs were as nimble as his hands. He could kick however he wanted to, and he could reach the most perfect and powerful state. This was the change brought about by Wind God's Kick's potential talent. It could increase the attack speed and power of Scimitar Kick, increasing the power of Scimitar Kick in all aspects. After Yang Wu stopped, he looked around at the messy place he had destroyed. He couldn't help but laugh. As expected, there's a potential talent waiting to be unearthed. It feels so good. He was very clear that this was definitely not the true effect of the potential talent. It couldn't be his ultimate killer move. He still needed to explore further. With a good start, he believed that there would be a good result. Therefore, in the next few days, he was immersed in the joy of exploring his potential talent. The barbarian army finally arrived. The barbarian army was brave and good at fighting. They had long been deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people of Great Xia. The people of Great Xia were very afraid that the barbarian army would kill their way into Great Xia's territory one day. The barbarian army's combat talent was too strong. If it wasn't for the fact that Great Xia had more people than the barbarian army and the emergence of outstanding talents, Great Xia would have already fallen into the hands of the barbarian army. This time, the barbarian army mobilized 200,000 soldiers, which was 100,000 more than the previous time. Moreover, some barbarian kings who were in seclusion had all come out. They even brought a large number of spirit-level demonic beasts with them. This surging momentum shocked the barbarian army. They all felt that the barbarian army was really going to have a showdown with Great Xia. Last time, the barbarian army mobilized 100,000 soldiers and horses and almost defeated them. If it wasn't for Yang Wu's timely appearance to turn the tide, they would have really fallen. This time, Great Xia no longer had Yang Wu. Furthermore, the barbarian army's military strength was even more terrifying. How were they going to withstand the barbarian army's pressure? Fun Tianxiong and the rest were already prepared. However, their hearts were extremely heavy. If the barbarian army's military strength was the same as the previous time, they could still resist. However, the barbarian army's military strength had doubled, which was even more than theirs. How are they going to fight this battle? Apart from that, there was also an army of tens of thousands of spirit-level demonic beasts. This was also a great threat. They couldn't figure out how so many spirit-level demonic beasts could charge through the Wolf Smoke Mountain Range. The Wolf Smoke Mountain Range was the territory of the Wolf Clan. The large-scale spirit-level demonic beasts had to respect them. If the spirit-level demonic beasts of the grasslands wanted to cross the Wolf Clan's territory, it would undoubtedly be a provocation, and they would be attacked by the Wolf Clan. However, it was different this time. Those spirit-level demonic beasts weren't attacked by the Wolf Clan. This was extremely strange. Fun Tianxiong gathered all of his military strength and suppressed the front of the mountain range. He was prepared to fight at any time. At the same time, he sent people to rush back to Monarch City at full speed to ask for help. He was afraid that they wouldn't be able to withstand the barbarian cavalry. Just as Fun Tianxiong got into position to fight the barbarian army didn't charge over. Instead, they stopped in the middle of the mountain range and sent someone out to shout, "People of Great Xia, listen up. The barbarian race is willing to coexist peacefully with Great Xia. Quickly send a representative out to negotiate peace with us." Huangfu Dalong's loud and clear voice reverberated throughout the barbarian army. All of the barbarian army soldiers heard it. They all wondered if they had heard wrongly. The barbarian race wants to negotiate peace. Is this true? Did I hear wrongly? I think I heard it too. Could this be their evil scheme? Why would the barbarian race take the initiative to negotiate peace? That's right. It must be a scheme. We can't fall for it. Let's fight it out with them. Do they really think that we, the people of Great Xia, are pushovers? Many of the soldiers didn't believe what they had heard. Instead, they felt that this might be a scheme of the barbarian race. The barbarian race wants to negotiate peace? Fun Tianxiong soared into the sky and asked Huang Fu Dalong. We, the barbarian race, always keep our word. If we say we want to negotiate peace, then we will negotiate peace. However, we have a condition. Huang Fu Dalong coldly snorted. His voice resounded in Fun Tianxiong's ears, causing Fun Tianxiong's ears to hurt. When Fun Tianxiong realized that the other party was a powerhouse of the heavenly fish realm, his expression became even more unsightly. What condition? Fun Tianxiong asked. The only person who can sign a peace contract with us can only be Yangwu. It's useless for anyone else to sign it with us. Huang Fu Dalong said. Just this condition? Fun Tianxiong asked again. That's right. Quickly call Yangwu over. We will negotiate peace with him and guarantee that we will stop fighting with the people of Great Xia within 10 years. Huang Fu Dalong said again with certainty. Yangwu is indeed a traitor. He and the barbarian race must be plotting something. After Feng Taisen heard Huang Fu Dalong's words, he couldn't help but snort coldly. That must be it. Otherwise, why would the barbarian race make such a request? It's simply child's play. Another general said, Barbarian, don't treat us like 3-year-old children. The matter of Yangwu colluding with the barbarian race has been exposed. Don't play any more tricks. Someone shouted. This time, Huang Fu Dalong understood. He was puzzled in his heart. Brother Yangwu's plan has failed. It seems that there needs to be a change. A bunch of ignorant people. Huang Fu Dalong couldn't help but scold these people in front of him. We have exposed your plot. You must be angry, Feng Taisen said. Who do you think you are? Are you worthy of my anger? Huang Fu Dalong shouted and waved his palm toward Feng Taisen, who was 200 feet away. Huang Fu Dalong was a powerhouse of the heavenly realm. His attack was so fast that it was impossible for Feng Taisen to dodge it. Slap! A crisp sound rang out, and Feng Taisen's entire face was slapped crooked. At this moment, all the kings of Great Xia became nervous. They were completely in a state of battle, but their hearts were beating like drums. How could they fight with someone of this level? Even a powerhouse of the heavenly realm wants to get involved in the war? Do you really think that there are no heavenly realm powerhouses in Great Xia? Fun Tianxiong shouted at Huang Fu Dalong. I don't care if there are any heavenly realm powerhouses in Great Xia. In short, if Yangwu doesn't sign a contract with us within 7 days, we will immediately attack and occupy Great Xia. After Huang Fu Dalong threw out this sentence, he quickly returned to the barbarian army. Chapter 300. The barbarian army had a total of 200,000 soldiers gathered together. They were mighty and powerful, and there were waves of spirit beasts crying out, shocking the heavens. The aura of the barbarian army's 180,000 soldiers was completely suppressed. Especially after Huang Fu Dalong made his move, everyone felt the pressure increase. Normally, when a heaven realm expert went to war, it meant that the two countries had entered the final stage of the battle. The barbarians were very determined this time. Either they really wanted to negotiate peace, or they really wanted to start a war and kill each other to the end. No matter what the situation was, Yangwu was the true key. Fun Tianxiong and the other generals were in a temporary meeting. Their expressions were incomparably serious, and the pressure was obvious. Marshal, the barbarians' words can't be trusted. Why don't we attack now? A general suggested. That's right. With our military strength, we don't have to be afraid of them. Jin Yin agreed. If you can deal with the enemy's heaven realm expert, then I'll start the war. Fun Tianxiong frowned and said lightly. This time, everyone was speechless. After a while, Su Tinghong said, I've already sent people back to report to the imperial court. These 7 days are just enough for the imperial court to send reinforcements. I think that if we find Yang Wu, everything can be solved. Chao Jinda said. Yang Wu is a traitor. This is already a very obvious fact. Old Chao, why do you still believe him? Nan Chi-chin said angrily. Why do you think he's a traitor? I think that the barbarians came with sincerity this time. Chao Jinda retorted. The barbarians have been fighting with us for more than 100 years. If they were so easy to talk to, then they wouldn't be the barbarians. How can Yang Wu make them stop fighting with us for 10 years? I think you've been bought over by his pills. Nan Chi-chin argued with Chao Jinda. When Chao Jinda wanted to respond, Fun Tianxiong loudly said, Enough. Now is not the time to argue. We should all be on guard and be ready to fight. We'll argue when the imperial court's reinforcements arrive. After a pause, he continued, Old Chao, send someone to find Yang Wu's whereabouts. He was the one who started this, so I'm afraid he'll have to clean up this mess in the end. Okay, I'll send someone to find him, but I can't guarantee that he'll be willing to come back. Chao Jinda didn't refuse. On the barbarian army's side, not only had Huangfu Dalong come, even Huangfu Zhanxiong had personally come once again. It could be seen that he attached great importance to this matter. Huangfu Dalong brought the news back to Huangfu Zhanxiong. After Huangfu Zhanxiong heard it, he laughed and said, That's great, that's great. That's right. If the people of Great Xia really believe that Brother Yang Wu is a traitor, he might be able to join us barbarians and strengthen our tribe, Huangfu Dalong said with a smile. How could it be that easy? However, we still have to try. Brother Yang Wu was able to obtain the recognition of the 3 Lord Protectors. It is not that simple. Huangfu Zhanxiong said, I've already said that if we don't see Yang Wu in 7 days, we will attack. I believe that Great Xia will ask for help. How should we deal with this? Huangfu Dalong asked. It doesn't matter who Great Xia sends. This matter must be carried out. Huangfu Zhanxiong said, Then we're still going to attack. Let's wait and see first. I feel that Brother Yang Wu might come to us to discuss this matter. Great Xia Imperial City. In the Golden Wand Palace, the Emperor of Great Xia gathered all the civil and military officials for an emergency meeting. Today, the barbarians are leading an army of 200,000. Do you have any good plans? The Emperor of Great Xia asked in a deep voice. Your Majesty, the barbarians have just suffered a great defeat, and they still dare to invade. Do they really think that there is no one in Great Xia who can fight them? I believe that Marshal Fun will definitely have a plan to repel the enemy. A civil official stood out and said, That's right. Marshal Fun is very powerful, and his ability to lead an army is unmatched. With him overseeing the border, it will be difficult for the barbarians to advance north. Another person said. General Luo Gongming stood out and snorted coldly. Nonsense. Even if Fun Tianxiong has 3 heads and 6 arms, he won't be able to block the attack of a Heaven Realm expert. As long as he dies, our army will be in chaos. Therefore, we must send out Heaven Realm experts to support us. Otherwise, it will be difficult to defend the border. General Luo is right. Your Majesty, please send out Heaven Realm experts to suppress the border. A military official stood out and agreed. Permitted. The Emperor agreed without thinking. Immediately after, he said, However, there is something fishy about the barbarians' attack. It is rumored that it is related to our deputy, General Yang Wu. What do you all think? Yang Wu is a traitor and should be executed. Someone immediately replied aggressively. That's right. We should have killed him back then. Now, we have nurtured a tiger that will only invite calamity. I suggest that we first kill Yang Jinnan and his wife, then kill all 9 generations of their family. These civil and military officials had already received the agenda. They knew that the barbarians' attack was all because of Yang Wu. On the surface, it was said that they were seeking peace. However, in reality, they were cooperating with the outside, which was disadvantageous to Great Xia. Among them, there were also some people who were deliberately fanning the flames. They were determined to pin the crime of treason on Yang Wu so that they could feel at ease. The Emperor of Grand Xia revealed a solemn expression. The news he received was not limited to this. He heard that Yang Wu was suspected to have a heaven realm cultivator protecting him, and that he also had a mysterious master. All kinds of signs indicated that Yang Wu had already obtained a heaven-shaking opportunity, and it was not something that could be suppressed by worldly affairs. If the Emperor of Grand Xia really treated Yang Wu like this, it would probably cause quite a lot of trouble. Although he had someone backing him up, it did not mean that he could remain indifferent when faced with a threat from a Heaven Realm expert. At this moment, a loud and clear voice rang out from the palace. Sinner Shui Gui requests an audience with your majesty. Sinner Shui Gui. These 4 words were like a bolt from the blue, causing the entire palace to explode. 10 years ago, the #1 weapon refinement master in Royal City, Shui Gui, was also pinned with the crime of treason in this hall. From then on, the weapon refining pavilion was implicated. Many of his disciples and grand disciples were either killed or imprisoned. Almost all of them were wiped out in one fell swoop. He was the only one who barely managed to carve out a bloody path and escape to a foreign tribe. Over the years, Shui Gui had become the disgrace of Great Xia, and this was deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people. Everyone thought of him as a traitor who had colluded with the enemy, betrayed the country, and killed his fellow countrymen. They also used him as a warning to their future generations. It could be said that his notoriety spread far and wide. After Shui Gui went into hiding with the barbarians, he gradually faded out of sight in the imperial court, and almost no one talked about him anymore. After all, Shui Gui did not help the barbarians deal with Great Xia. Or perhaps it was because everyone knew that Shui Gui had fallen to such a state because he was in the limelight and was hated by others. Therefore, no one wanted to mention him. But now, Shui Gui had openly returned outside the imperial palace, which shocked everyone. The commanders of the imperial guards guarding the palace led hundreds of men and quickly surrounded Shui Gui. Before these people could stop him, Shui Gui had already charged through their encirclement on his wild red rabbit horse, using the realm of man and horse as one, and headed for the gate of the palace. Everyone, shoot arrows and kill this traitor, an imperial guard commander ordered. In the blink of an eye, countless arrows shot towards Shui Gui. Clink, clink, clink. These arrows were very powerful, and they were all shot by martial artists in the general realm. However, when they landed on Shui Gui's body, they all made clink sounds and broke. There was no way for them to penetrate Shui Gui's defensive mystical chi armor. I'm only here to see his majesty. Don't force me, Shui Gui said coldly as he rode on his wild red rabbit horse. How dare you, Shui Gui? You still have the face to come back. Today, I, Meng Helong, will capture you alive. Meng Helong, who is already one of the commanders of the Imperial Guards, immediately rushed over and killed Shui Gui. Meng Helong was already a genuine king of the initial Earthsea realm. His combat strength was quite impressive, and he had already consolidated in the king realm for some time. Meng Helong had no intention of holding back at all. He used his ultimate move as soon as he attacked. It was like a torrential river rushing toward Shui Gui. Scram! Shui Gui didn't even look at Meng Helong. He just struck out with his palm. A flame appeared and smashed Meng Helong's attack into powder on the spot. There was even a palm print aimed at Meng Helong's chest. Meng Helong's body flew backward, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He crashed heavily dozens of feet away, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. 10 years ago, Shui Gui was one of the top 10 masters in Royal City. Even though there were new talents in the current generation, they were still too inexperienced compared to a veteran king like him. Shui Gui, you traitor. You still have the guts to come back to Royal City. You're courting death. A king roared angrily. In the next moment, what sounded like the cry of an eagle rang out. The aura of 2 eagles appeared. 2 people riding 2 eagle kings blocked Shui Gui's path. They were the first and second commanders of the eagle cavalry. The first commander was the Little Eagle King, and the second commander was the Thunder Eagle Xiejin. The former was a mid-king realm king, while the latter was infinitely close to it. In addition, the great commander of the Imperial Guards, Zhu Imo, also appeared. His strength wasn't inferior to Siezhen's at all. He was riding a tiger-shaped boar king, which was a mutated spirit beast with special abilities. After Shui Gui spoke, there were already a few kings blocking his path. It was enough to see how strict the palace's security was. However, they were only blocking the way on the surface. A few hidden forces had also arrived. As long as Shui Gui dared to take half a step forward, they would appear and exterminate him. Move aside. I want to ask the emperor. Shui Gui looked coldly at the three kings blocking his path and spoke faintly. Shui Gui, you traitor, you still have the face to come back. Today, your blood will splatter everywhere. The Thunder Eagle Siezhen pointed his thunderblade at Shui Gui and shouted. Siezhen was about 45 years old. He had a dignified appearance and wore battle armor. There was a war band on his head, and his body was suffused with lightning xianqi. He was filled with a righteous aura. Shui Gui, don't make a pointless struggle. Today, you must have come with the intention of dying. You might as well atone for your crimes with your death. The little Eagle King said faintly. Guo Shiling was a few years younger than Siezhen. He was the favorite disciple of the white-browed Eagle King, one of the top 10 kings of the previous generation. He controlled the Eagle cavalry and guarded every corner of the imperial city. On the other side, Zhu Imo, as the commander of the Imperial Guards, had a total of 2,000 people behind him. They had already prepared their heavy bows and were ready for battle. Shui Gui looked at them coldly and slowly took out a battle weapon from his back. If you want to stop me, then answer my first question. What crimes have I, Shui Gui, committed? As soon as he finished speaking, the battle weapon instantly soared into the sky. Ask one sword. Chapter 301. Asking one sword, Seeking Grievances. Its name was Seeking Grievances Sword. Seeking Grievances Sword was a top-notch king sword that was polished from 13 king-level materials and 35 demon-level materials. It was close to a heavenly weapon and was a sword weapon with extremely dense fire, xianqi. It was forged by Shui Gui with all his might when he was at his most wronged. The sword was carved with sword patterns that curved and curved, representing how unbearable his emotions were. There was also resentment emerging. Sword chi floated and the sword hummed, inexplicably making one's heart ache. Shui Gui held Seeking Grievances sword, and all his negative emotions exploded at this moment. He shouted towards the palace. Shui Gui asked the emperor, what crime did Shui Gui commit? Insolent Shui Gui, you still have the face to ask for grievances. Today, I will kill you. After Thunder Eagle Siezhen shouted, he held the Thunderblade and rode over on the Thunder Eagle King. Man and eagle became one as he furiously slashed down at Shui Gui. Thunder from a clear sky. High up in the sky, it was as if a bolt of heavenly lightning struck down and slashed at Shui Gui's head, wanting to cut him in half. Time-lapse Ling did not stay idle. He was very clear about Shui Gui's strength. How could Siezhen be his opponent? When Siezhen made his move, he already held a pair of eagle claws and flew over. The eagle claws clawed out from a distance of several dozen feet, tearing lion and killing tiger. He was like a demon eagle with extremely powerful blood chi. The incomparably sharp claws were several dozen feet long. Even if it was a lion or a tiger, it would be torn apart on the spot and become its food. Zhu Mo also moved. He held a long, sharp spear, and waves of xian qi covered his entire body. When he was less than 300 feet away from Shui Gui, the sharp spear furiously pierced out. In an instant, the spear pierced through layers of air and landed on Shui Gui's heart. Shui Gui died. Zhu Mo revealed a fanatical expression and roared. In addition to their attacks, their mounts also coordinated with their attacks. King-level powers crisscrossed, tearing apart the long official road and the spacious field. This place was very close to the palace, and no commoners could live here. Only the scenery, trees, and defensive fences on the left and right were crushed under the pressure of many powers. Fortunately, there was an array formation master who activated the array formation and began to protect everything in the surroundings. Otherwise, the surrounding area would have suffered even greater destruction. The emperor and the civil and military officials in the imperial palace had already climbed to the highest tower and were watching everything that was happening here. This Shui Gui really has guts. He still dares to come back to die. A civil official cursed in front of the emperor. Looking at his posture, it seems like he came back to die. I think we should persuade him first, then take him down in one fell swoop when he's not paying attention. You're too naive. Shui Gui's resentment is so high that it can reach the heavens. How would he be willing to give up? Your Majesty, don't be angry. Just treat it as a good show. The Emperor of Great Xia didn't say anything. He just looked at Shui Gui with a calm expression and murmured, "The appearance of the traitor leads to chaos." Below, Shui Gui was facing the combined attacks of 3 kings. His expression was calm as he pulled out the grievance-seeking sword. An intense flame swept out. This astonishing sword slashed out in a huge arc, slashing towards the attack from 3 different directions. Wherever the sword light went, the grievous chi tore apart those attacks, and there was still a powerful force remaining. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 eagle kings cried out in alarm as blood splattered everywhere. Their bodies fell to the ground. Other than that, Xiezhen was hit by a strand of sword chi. His armor cracked, and fresh blood seeped out. If the power was just a little bit more domineering, he would have been cut in half. On the other hand, Guo Shiling and Zhu Mo were still fine. They blocked the sword and were only forced to retreat. Blood flowed out from their palms, but they weren't seriously injured. "Don't stop me again or die," Shui Gui said indifferently as he rode on the wild red hare. He only used 30% of his strength in this sword. He didn't intend to kill the person in front of him. His final target was still the current emperor. "Shui Gui, don't be stubborn. You also have the blood of Great Xia flowing your veins. You deserve to die for offending your superiors. You should stop." Guo Shiling once again blocked in front of Shui Gui and said. Zhu Mo also walked over and said, "Put down your weapon and I'll give you a quick death. You really want to force me to kill?" Shui Gui glanced at the distant city gate tower and took a deep breath. Immediately after, he shouted again, "May I ask the emperor, what crime have I committed?" "You're courting death." Guo Shiling and Zhu Mo both shouted at the same time and attacked together again. Eagle clawed dismemberment hand. Zhu Gang tiger. Both of them used all their strength, and their battle strength was close to that of a high-level king. The eagle claws were incomparably sharp and suffused with dense killing intent. They could tear apart the body of any living creature. Zhu Gang's spear suddenly transformed into a ferocious tiger. The transformation between a pig demon and a tiger demon brought about a completely different killing aura as they charged forward. Guo Shiling and Zhu Mo were both in the position of great commander. There was no need to talk about their battle strength. They weren't as simple as ordinary kings. Each of their xianqi contained a unique destructive power. Furthermore, the battle techniques they cultivated were all king techniques. The power they could unleash was enough to fight those above their level. It was a pity that these seemingly powerful forces couldn't even withstand a single blow in Shui Gui's eyes. He rode the wild red hare and leisurely walked forward. The grievance-seeking sword slashed out from left and right, easily shattering the 2 waves of attacks. The sword rays still surged towards the 2 of them. Pu-pu! Pu-pu! The armor on the 2 of them was slashed open. Longsword marks were branded on their bodies. Fresh blood spurted out continuously, and they only stopped when they were thrown a long distance away. They were once kings in the top 10. Even if they were ranked at the bottom, their king's might was already invincible. 2 good-for-nothings. They can't even block a has-been king. The emperor has asked me to take care of them. On the city gate tower, a military general asked the emperor for permission to fight. The emperor didn't reply. He only waved his hand, stopping him from doing so. At this moment, more than 10 kings rushed out from different directions. They were the second line of defense in the imperial palace. Whoever dared to offend the imperial palace's dignity would be killed without mercy. When these people appeared, they didn't waste a single word. They all attacked Shui Gui with all their might. More than 10 majestic and powerful forces landed on Gui's position. Gui's gaze was still as calm as water. He slowly put away the grievance-seeking sword and pulled out a second war weapon. He shouted, with the condemnation blade, "I dare ask your majesty, what crime did Gui's wife and children commit that you want to kill them all?" Gui's wife was beautiful and charming. She was even pregnant. However, because of Gui's matter, she was implicated and tragically killed. Every time Gui thought of that scene, his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. He really wanted to end his life early and accompany them. However, he was unwilling and angry. He wanted to use this blade to punish them. The condemnation blade asked the emperor and the hundreds of officials, "What crime did Gui's wife and children commit that they should be punished like this?" The emperor wasn't angry. To him, if the emperor wanted an official to die, the official had no choice but to die, let alone the wife and children of an official. The hundreds of officials' hearts were slightly moved. They also had wives and children. If one day they angered the dragon scale, would they also be punished like this? The condemnation blade burned fiercely. It burned in all directions, blocking many of the attacking forces in front of it. Boom! Boom! The dozens of kings who were attacking Gui were all shattered before his eyes. No one's power could get within 10 meters of the wild red horsehair. Even so, the wild red horsehair was so scared that its legs went soft. It lay on the ground, unable to take another step forward. Even though Gui had an extremely powerful horse riding technique, the wild red horsehair was too weak. It was still nothing in front of King. Gui soared into the sky with the fire wings on his body. The condemnation blade slashed out in all directions. Every slash was wide open and did not pay attention to many variations. It only contained the courage and impulse to punish. The combat strength that Gui displayed was already at the level of a top-level king. He even touched the edge of the heavenly fish realm. The dozens of kings in front of him still found it difficult to suppress him. "Get into formation and kill." One of the kings shouted in alarm. These people quickly took their positions. Many of their auras were closely connected, forming a prison. They all exerted their full strength to form the power of the formation. The power of the formation increased the power of the attack. Wave after wave, they wanted to blast Gui into a bloody pulp. Sealing Destruction Formation. This was a top-level king's formation. It was formed by dozens of kings. Dozens of forces combined and constantly crisscrossed, forming a sharp destructive force that was enough to kill a top-level king. This was the strength of the second line of defense in front of the Imperial Palace. If the Imperial Palace, an important place of the Great Xia, didn't have such a thing to rely on, it would really be embarrassing. "May I ask your majesty, what crime did my wife and son commit?" Gui didn't seem to care about this formation. He still stared at the city gate tower and questioned loudly. He held the condemnation saber with both hands and slashed in all directions. The condemnation saber was filled with a sinful aura and contained a bit of saber intent. It slashed out with incredible power, destroying the besieging forces. He slashed out again and again, completely disregarding his own life. He cut the 3 kings in front of him in half, staining the front gate of the Imperial Palace with blood. As for Gui, he also suffered from the bombardment of many forces. The black battle armor on his body was shattered, but he still had a top-level defensive armor on his body that protected his vitals and minimized the damage. After killing 3 people, the remaining people did not panic because of this. Instead, they once again patched up the gap and continued to besiege Gui without any regard for their lives. They were all kings loyal to the imperial family. Even if they had to die, they wouldn't let the enemy take half a step past them. They kept charging and swapping positions. They blasted out the most powerful moves they had learned in their lives over and over again, completely disregarding the consequences. Gui's heart was like steel. He kept asking questions, killing one person with each question. In front of the imperial palace, many people in the imperial city were alarmed. If it weren't for the Imperial Guard stopping them, even more people would have come to watch. However, no matter how the Imperial Guards tried to stop them, they couldn't stop the eyes and ears of some kings. Everything that happened here was destined to spread throughout the Imperial City and even to every corner of the Great Xia dynasty. A bunch of trash. Get out of the way. Wait for me to kill Shui Gui. Another shocking voice rang out as he charged out. Chapter 302. With a condemning blade in hand, Shui Gui slaughtered in all directions. Even the kings in the formation couldn't withstand his desperate attacks. Half of the dozen or so people died in his hands. His blade was condemning. His blade was drinking blood, and his eyes were looking at the emperor, hoping for an explanation. Shui Gui was so brave. How could Great Xia have no one? Finally, a high-level king came out. This person looked like he was in his early 30s, but in fact he was in his 40s. He looked quite young and handsome. He wore gorgeous clothes and had a long staff on his shoulder. With an arrogant face, he released a pair of fire wings and blocked in front of Shui Gui. It was the city guardian general, Su Yinshui, the Rod King. Shui Gui looked at Su Yinshui with bloodshot eyes and shouted, "Do you want to return the lives of my wife and children?" The momentum of the blade was surging violently, slashing a long fire scar in the sky. "I'll send you to hell to meet them." Su Yinshui flicked his bangs and shouted. Flashing his fire wings, he dragged the long fire stick and smashed it towards Shui Gui's head. Smoke stick thick fog. This fire stick seemed to be emitting thick smoke, rendering the sky hazy. There was also a scorching power that swept towards Shui Gui. The power was quite astonishing, and it could be said to be one strike to shock the heavens and earth. Those who could become the city guardian general were all experts who could fight above their level. They were all 1 in 100, and only those who were qualified to take on this heavy responsibility could sit in this position. It wasn't something an ordinary king could do. The blade and the staff kept colliding, and bursts of fierce sparks kept splashing in all directions. The powerful king's aura created a fiery storm here. Under the repeated collisions, Su Yinshui was defeated by Shui Gui. He was still not Shui Gui's match. "I don't believe I can take you down." Su Yinshui was enraged. Thick smoke floated around his body, and a lot of power floated between heaven and earth, creating a fire fog, making people unable to tell where he was. The fire fog formed a sea. This was a battle technique to confuse others. Not only did it burn people's eyes, but it also attacked from unexpected positions and killed the enemy. This was Su Yinshui's ultimate move. Who knew how many people had died under this move? Shui Gui stood motionless, and Su Yinshui appeared above his head and hit his head with the staff. Just as the staff was about to reach Shui Gui's head, Shui Gui suddenly disappeared. What? After Su Yinshui's staff missed, Su Yinshui cried out in astonishment. At this time, Shui Gui's, and faintly. And Shui, Su Yinshui's, Shui's, and Guz's. Shui's, Xian's, Shui Gui's. Even so, Shui Gui's injuries were not light. The bloody wounds were a ghastly sight. Shui Gui ignored Su Yinshui and once again headed toward the city gate tower. Unfortunately, resistance appeared again. "Marshal Yin, you're too useless. Didn't you say you're the strongest among us 4 generals?" A delicate voice rang out. A sexy young woman flashed a pair of pure white, profound wings as she flew over from a certain direction. Apart from her, 2 other high-level kings also appeared. Qin Shuriwei, Wu Shilong, Chao Jianjun, and Su Yinshui were the 4 great city protectors. Their strengths were on par, and they represented the imperial palace's 3rd line of defense. Wu Shilong and Chao Jianjun were both middle-aged. Wu Shilong was taller and more powerful. He carried a huge broadsword, and his muscles bulged. He was filled with domineering strength. Chao Jianjun belonged to the calm and cold type. He carried an ancient sword on his back, and his gaze was very calm. It was as if nothing could stir his emotions. "I forgot that Shui Taisho is a blacksmith. My fire mist is useless against him," Su Yinshui said with a wry smile. "Don't talk nonsense. The emperor is watching. Let's work together to take him down. Wu Shilong faintly said, and his broadsword slashed towards Shui Gui. Chao Jianjun didn't say anything. He had already cooperated with Wu Shilong and stabbed out with his sword. Qin Shuriwei, on the other hand, lashed out with her long whip. Like a snake, it wrapped around Shui Gui's neck. Come on, I don't believe that Shui Tai Shou is so powerful. Su Yinshui shouted and once again joined the battle. Your Majesty, you want to kill me and execute my wife and children. If the emperor wants the subject to die, the subject has no choice but to die. However, why do you want to execute my disciple and grand disciple as well? What wrong have they done? How many weapons have they forged for the Xia kingdom? Why are you so cruel? Shui Gui ignored the three people in front of him and took out the third tier of the soldier kings. His voice reverberated in the sky above the palace. Everyone could hear him clearly. A long spear containing blood and tears soared into the sky. It was as if countless wronged souls were wailing and crying. They were all Shui Gui's disciples and grand disciples. They had helped Great Xia forge weapons one after another. Back then, at least half of the soldiers in the army were produced by the weaponsmiths he had established. However, these meritorious people had all become vengeful spirits in the Yellow Springs. The Blood and Tears spear was a top-grade royal weapon forged with the blood of Shui Gui's heart. First, ask Injustice Sword. What crime did Shui Gui commit? All he did was release a pregnant barbarian woman. How did he become a traitor for collaborating with the enemy? Second, asks in Saber. What crime did his wife and children commit? They were just innocent women and children. They didn't even know what was going on and were killed. How pitiful their deaths were. Third, ask Blood and Tears spear. Everyone in the weapon forging pavilion was a meritorious subject. They had forged many weapons for the Great Xia dynasty. Yet, they were implicated and sent to the gates of hell. Fourth, ask Merciless spear. Those who were related to Shui Gui by blood were mercilessly killed without even knowing what was going on. It was said that the imperial family was merciless. When was that ever wrong? Fifth, ask Splitting axe. Heads can be broken, blood can be shed. If there is a wrong, there must be an explanation. If there is a crime, there must be a crime. Furthermore, he had done meritorious deeds and did not make any mistakes. Why should he be judged guilty? Sixth, ask Venomous Scorpion Spear. Why was there a treacherous official in power who provoked and drove a wedge between them? Why was everything confiscated when the matter was unclear? Why was such a vicious person still alive? Seventh, ask Broken Tongue Hook. Those who stirred up trouble and gossiped should be punished by having their tongues broken. They shouldn't listen to the words of these despicable people. They were muddle-headed and deserved to die. Eighth, ask Bone-Crushing Whip. He, Shui Gui, was proud and upright. He didn't betray the Great Xia dynasty after the weapon forging pavilion was confiscated. It could be said that he was loyal and devoted. It was a pity that his bones were broken and he became a barbarian. How sad was that? Ninth, ask Corpse Extracting Mace. Those barbarians whom he killed before took him in and didn't kill him on the spot. This was a great debt of gratitude. Hence, he wouldn't kill another barbarian to repay the vengeful spirits of the barbarians underground. 10th, ask Dragon Destroying Hammer. Shui Gui made a living as a blacksmith. He had done countless meritorious deeds for the Great Xia dynasty with this hammer. In the end, let this hammer destroy the draconic qi in this area. Shui Gui asked 10 questions in a row. Every question caused the blood of a king to stain the ground. Blood stained the bottom of the palace. The sun was setting and the sky was dyed red. The draconic qi was affected by the dense murderous aura and weakened by a lot. 49 kings stepped forward. A total of 26 of them were killed by Shui Gui's 10th Ass King weapon. Even 2 of the 4 great guardian generals fell. This battle was earth-shattering and unusually tragic. Shui Gui was wearing a heavenly soldier armor. However, there were many injuries on his body. His arms and legs were full of scars. His bones were ghastly white. However, he still held on to his last breath and rushed toward the palace tower with the dragon destroying hammer in his hand. His death wasn't regrettable. However, he still had to ask clearly, what did he do wrong? Kill him. The emperor no longer looked calm. His face was full of anger as he shouted in shock. A eunuch beside him rushed out. General Luo Gongming also made his move. These two were the most powerful people by the emperor's side. The eunuch was the emperor's personal bodyguard. He was also the emperor's confidant. His strength had already reached the peak. He was already a true heaven realm expert. His speed of attack was extremely fast. Luo Gongming was a top-notch king. He was one of the top 10 kings. He had already retired after accomplishing his mission. He was Fun Tianxiong's former superior. The two of them attacked at the same time. How glorious would it be to kill Shui Gui? In Wind Claw. When the eunuch attacked, he unleashed a claw attack that was imbued with dense yin qi. Even the air was being torn apart. The descending power was enough to easily tear apart mountains. Shui Gui, you should stop. Luo Gongming was tempted. However, he still had to use all his strength to kill Shui Gui. His strength was not as strong as the eunuch. However, his killing power was not weak. He was more experienced and terrifying than any of the kings who attacked before. You can't distinguish between reason and Tao. Your Majesty, do you dare to answer this guilty official? Shui Gui roared as he looked forward with a face full of blood. At that moment, his battle power was almost depleted. However, the will to punish was endless. Only death could eliminate his resentment. When the two powerful attacks came, Shui Gui suddenly unleashed an unexpected ability. 10 condemnation weapons rose into the air and attacked the two forces at the same time. The sword of seeking justice sought justice. The blade of seeking justice sought justice. The spear of bloody tears shed tears. The 10 weapons all left his hands and reached the weapon-controlling realm. What a shocking scene this was, causing everyone's expression to change. How did Shui Gui do it? This is unbelievable. He was once one of the top 10 kings. Now, he has reached the weapon-controlling realm. Even a heaven realm expert might not have this kind of ability. Moreover, it's already good for one person to be able to control one weapon. However, he can control 10 weapons at the same time. This is unbelievable. Could it be that these 10 weapons were made from his blood and tears? It's such a pity for this traitor. If he didn't betray us, our great Xia would have a heaven realm expert soon. This might be the legendary weapon refinement path. He is a weapon refinement master, and after connecting with the blood of every weapon he forged, he would be able to use them as he pleased. Shui Gui has definitely entered this realm of martial arts. Chapter 303. That night, the winds and clouds in King City suddenly changed as the first spring rain fell. This rain came very suddenly. Although it was still sunny during the day, it was stormy at night, causing everyone to close their doors and windows and not leave their homes. On this stormy night, a person wielding 10 king armaments seriously injured a general and forced a heavenly fish realm eunuch to retreat. He had almost killed his way to the emperor. Your Majesty, what crime have I, Shui Gui, committed? Shui Gui roared as he wielded his 10 king armaments. The Xia Emperor finally agreed. Your crime of setting the barbarians free is unforgivable, and you still have the face to question me? Now that you have offended your superiors, you have committed an unpardonable crime. You will be killed, and your entire family will be executed. The Emperor's killing intent was incomparably dense, as if a true dragon was roaring. The dragon's might was inviolable. You incapable ruler, return my wife and children, and return my disciples and grand disciples. Shui Gui's eyes were filled with anger as he roared. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood, which landed on the 10 king armaments. The king armaments began to wail as they gathered together with Shui Gui's emotions. The 10 king armaments revolved around him as his spiritual energy gathered to the peak and charged towards the emperor. 10 battle armaments with different flames appeared in front of Shui Gui's lonely tent. He had been forging for 10 years without stopping. He had been wronged and bled, but he had never shed a tear. His heart was like steel as he repeatedly hammered the ironware after the cold tribulation. Today, he could no longer suppress the urge to gather 10 battle armaments and ask for 10 sins. He had entered the path of refining. This was Shui Gui's own path. His battle armaments were his everything. If he lived, the battle armaments would exist. If he died, the battle armaments would be destroyed. Traitor, you dare to be impudent in front of the emperor? I'll tear you apart alive. The eunuch was enraged by Shui Gui's path of refining. His strength surpassed Shui Gui's, but he was forced to retreat by Shui Gui's 10 battle armaments. He could no longer tolerate it. The eunuch used all of his power and tore apart Shui Gui's armor. He grabbed Shui Gui's heart and crushed it, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Shui Gui did not care about his own life or death. His will had already merged into the 10 weapons, and the 10 weapons were led by the dragon's destruction hammer. It was as if it had become a heavenly hammer. The hammer, with clear rewards and punishments, smashed heavily towards the emperor. Protect his majesty! Someone screamed and attacked the 10 soldiers with all their might. The civil and military officials around the emperor, as long as they had the slightest bit of strength, tried to stop the 10 weapons. Unfortunately, these forces were very weak and could not stop the hammer from falling. Most of the forces were destroyed by the 10 weapons and continued to move towards the emperor. Quickly activate the protective array formation. Damn it! How can this power be so strong? Where is the protector general? The civil and military officials were all in a panic as they watched the domineering hammer of the 10 weapons fall. This power was comparable to the might of the Heaven Realm. Even ordinary Heaven Realm elite would not be able to stop it. This was the 10 sins, the path of refining weapons condensed from the 10 grievances. It was indestructible, and there was nothing it could not destroy. Shui Gui, how dare you? The eunuch was anxious. He wanted to tear Shui Gui apart alive, but he did not expect Shui Gui to force such a powerful attack. He used all of his strength to tear Shui Gui apart, but a special flame erupted from Shui Gui's body, burning the eunuch until he had no choice but to let go. Shui Gui turned into a man of fire. He was like a ball of flame in the furnace, incinerating the weapons and melting the materials. The fire would never end, and the fire would last forever. The hammer was still unable to hit the emperor of the Xia dynasty. The power of the array formation had been activated in advance and blocked the hammer. Boom! Boom! The hammer's power was incomparably domineering, almost causing the Heaven Realm array formation to explode. Unfortunately, the 10 weapons did not have enough power to continue and were still stopped. Shui Gui revealed a desolate expression as his body fell from the sky. He faintly said, "Foolish and tyrannical ruler, Great Xia shall be destroyed. The Great Xia dynasty shall be destroyed." There was no way to stop this voice. It spread out slowly, and even the sound of the storm could not stop it. It went deep into everyone's heart. Shoot this traitor into a sieve. The emperor of the Xia dynasty shouted in anger. Swoosh! Swoosh! Countless arrows shot out. Shui Gui, who had just landed, was pierced by thousands of arrows. He died in front of the palace, in front of the civil and military officials. The humiliation of the Xia dynasty was branded in Royal City, and he and his 10 royal weapons became the most tragic legend. In a faraway barbarian tribe, a dark-skinned young man was lying in bed. He was curled up tightly under the blanket. Suddenly, he felt a pain in his heart and woke up from his dream. He let out a heart-wrenching cry. Foster father. This voice pierced through the night sky of the grassland and did not fall for a long time. In a nameless valley in the Wolf Smoke mountain range, there was no wind or rain. There was only the coolness of spring and summer. On top of an old tree, there was a young man leaning against a tree branch. Not far from him sat an ice-cold beauty. They were talking when they suddenly saw a strange movement in a certain direction. The young man did not know how to observe the sky at night. He said in astonishment, "Why is there a blood-red light in the direction of the Xia dynasty in the middle of the night?" At this moment, a fire sword was jumping in the young man's Qian space. The young man sensed it and summoned the fire sword. Buzz! The fire sword seemed to have a mind of its own. It let out a sorrowful cry in the direction of the blood-red light. Such a strange thing shocked the young man. What's going on with the red essence sword? The master of weaponry refinement has fallen. The weapon is letting out a sorrowful cry. What a pity. Little Hay sighed softly under the tree. Little Hay, are you saying that Shue Gui is dead? The young man on the tree exclaimed. The red essence sword was a king weapon that Shue Gui had personally forged using the red essence stone. Its sorrowful cry meant that Shue Gui was dead. There's not much suspense. It's a pity that a person who entered the path of weaponry refinement had died. If he did not fall, he would have become a powerful person in the future. Little Hay replied. The young man looked sad. He stroked the red essence sword and sighed softly. The imperial family of the Xia dynasty is tyrannical. If your strength is not above everyone in this small place, I'm afraid your end will not be good. Little Hay said. Then, she closed her eyes and did not speak anymore. The barbarian tribe is already here. I believe they will make a choice. The young man said. He paused and looked at the dark night sky. I'm not Shue Gui. 7 days passed quickly. The matter of Shue Gui was completely sealed off by the imperial family. Whoever dared to mention it would be killed without mercy. This ban could only stop the news for a while. It could not stop the news for a lifetime. Word spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. The matter of the emperor being interrogated of the 10 deadly sins was already deeply ingrained in the hearts of the people. Was the emperor guilty? Everyone had a question in their hearts. The commoners were far away and did not know. They only knew that their lives were peaceful and they were not invaded by the flames of war. Even if the taxes were heavier, they could bear it. They did not feel that the emperor had committed any great crimes. After all, he was the emperor. Only the civil and military officials knew whether the emperor was guilty or not. He was obstinate and self-opinionated. He did not listen to good advice and appointed people based on favoritism. Almost all the important positions in the imperial court were in his hands. No one was allowed to go against his will. Those powerful officials who were rumored to have disloyal intentions all met with bad ends. In the 20 years that he had succeeded the throne, every year there would be a few important officials who committed some minor crimes, and their family would be exterminated. This method increased his deterrence. But at the same time, it made people clearly feel that accompanying the emperor was like accompanying a tiger. It was really like treading on thin ice. Was the emperor's mistake guilty or not? No one dared to speak nonsense. After all, this world belonged to him. Shue Gui was dead. The barbarian army was still at the border. In less than a day, they began to attack. The great Xia dynasty sent out 50,000 soldiers and horses to rush over. In addition, more than 10 kings arrived first to provide support. They also sent an important official to negotiate with the barbarian army. That important official was a second-rank official, Ban Tongji, the Minister of Rights. Accompanying him was the eunuch who killed Shue Gui. Eunuch Du. When Ban Tongji and Eunuch Du arrived, Fen Tianxiong brought them to the barbarian army and called for them to send someone to negotiate. Ban Tongji was a typical civil official. He had a knowledgeable appearance, wore an official robe, and had a slightly protruding belly. He sat on top of a war chariot, following Fen Tianxiong and the others to the front of the formation. Eunuch Du did not appear. He was already hiding in the dark. As long as the heaven realm of the barbarian army made any movements, he would make a move. Where is Yang Wu? Shi Shafeng appeared with the vanguard and shouted at Fen Tianxiong and the others. Yang Wu is not in the army. My great Xia Emperor has already sent the Minister of Peace, Ban Shangshu. If you really want to negotiate, you could talk to him. Fen Tianxiong replied. Ban Tongji walked down from the chariot and prepared to talk to Shi Shafeng. Unexpectedly, Shi Shafeng shouted, Scram, we will only negotiate with Yang Wu. We will not acknowledge anyone else. His voice was valiant and overbearing. Ban Tongji's strength was not that great. He was so scared that his body trembled and he almost fell on the spot. Fortunately, there was a general beside him who supported him. Since you barbarians have the intention to negotiate, you should not be so rude. Fen Tianxiong said angrily. The one who has no intention to negotiate is Great Xia. Shi Shafeng snorted coldly. Then he said, Yang Wu went deep into my tribe and had a deep discussion with my tribe's patriarch. Only then did my tribe's patriarch agree to negotiate with Great Xia. I did not expect you to treat Yang Wu as a traitor. Since that is the case, I see that there is no possibility of negotiation. Why don't we fight? Fight! 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 The barbarian army cried out in alarm. This battle cry was so loud that it shocked everyone. It frightened the barbarian army and made them extremely nervous. Let's talk nicely. Ban Tongji had never experienced such a battle before. He was so scared that he rolled back to the chariot and said repeatedly, "If you want to fight, then let's fight." Fen Tianxiong did not care about Ban Tongji's words. He knew that once he backed down, the barbarians would take advantage of the situation. It was better to be straightforward and fight a great battle. Just like that, the two armies once again engaged in battle. This time, Great Xia lost abnormally fast. This was because the appearance of the barbarian race's 3 great heavenly demon guardians scared Li Gongong out of his wits. Chapter 304. The battle between the barbarian army and the barbarian army had just begun. The intervention of a Heaven Realm super expert was something that had never happened before. It meant that the two countries would fight to the death. The celestial beast, the barbarian bull demon, and the tigress appeared at the same time and suppressed the Great Xia army with their overwhelming power. The Great Xia army was unable to resist, and more than 20 kings were captured, including Marshal Fen Tianxiong. The barbarian army was defeated in an instant. They had no strength to fight anymore. The 200,000 barbarian soldiers took advantage of the situation and surrounded the barbarian army. Those who resisted were beaten down. Those who did not resist were still safe and sound. The barbarian army felt despair for the first time. They were powerless against the Heaven Realm experts. What should we do? Are the barbarian army going to kill us all? If they really want to do that, we will fight with them. Marshal Fun and the other lieutenant generals have all been captured by them. This time, it's completely over. I didn't expect us to fall so quickly. Didn't the imperial court send reinforcements? The barbarian army was in a complete panic. Li Gongong did not dare to fight with the 3 heaven demons. When the barbarian bull demon threw a punch in his direction, he retreated as fast as he could. Remember, we are only willing to negotiate with Yang Wu. If we don't see Yang Wu in 7 days, we will kill everyone here and invade Great Xia, the barbarian bull demon said. Is Yang Wu so capable? Li Gongong exclaimed in his heart. Li Gongong did not dare to stay any longer and rushed back to Great Xia's palace as fast as he could. Shui Gui's matter had just calmed down when Li Gongong brought back the news of the barbarian army's invasion. The 3 heaven demon guardians of the barbarian army had appeared and captured hundreds of thousands of Great Xia soldiers. They could be killed at any time. The palace was shaken, and Great Xia's palace felt like a storm was about to come. The Emperor of Great Xia gathered all the civil and military officials for a meeting. The civil and military officials could not come up with any plans. They could only suggest that Heaven Realm elites be sent to fight against the barbarian guards to stop the barbarian army from invading. Just as the soldiers were extremely anxious, Luo Gongming opened his mouth and said, "Your Majesty, I have something that I don't know if I should say." "Speak, je will pardon you." The emperor said, "I feel that the barbarian race has the intention to negotiate for peace. Otherwise, they could have wiped out the entire barbarian suppression army and invade our Great Xia in one fell swoop. Why would they leave us with a glimmer of hope?" Luo Gongming said, "That's not right. This could be a plot by the barbarian tribe to lure us in so that they can catch us all in one fell swoop." Song Lirue said. Luo Gongming ignored Song Lirue and continued to speak to the emperor. "The barbarians have been clamoring for Yang Wu to negotiate for peace. Why don't we give him a chance to negotiate for peace? If he really signs the peace agreement, he will be promoted and heavily rewarded. If there is a conspiracy, he will be beheaded." I agree with General Luo's suggestion. An old civil and military official agreed. Another general also said, "That's right. Since the barbarian race wants to negotiate for peace with Yang Wu, then give him a chance to represent our Great Xia dynasty. If he really succeeds, we can save the lives of hundreds of thousands of soldiers." General Luo's words are correct. I implore the emperor to make a decision. Most of the officials agreed with Luo Gongming's suggestion. The emperor was silent for a moment before saying, "Approved." Thus, there were officials from the imperial court who quickly rushed to the barbarian suppression army to persuade the barbarian race not to be rash. They had already allowed Yang Wu to represent Great Xia to sign the peace agreement. The barbarian army were not fools. They needed to see Yang Wu before making a decision. The imperial court of Great Xia sent out eagle riders to search for Yang Wu's whereabouts in the Wolf Smoke mountain range. They hoped to find Yang Wu as soon as possible. Yang Wu did not stray too far away from the barbarian suppression army. He also did not hide his whereabouts. Every day, he worked hard to cultivate his potential innate skills, hoping that one day they would become the ultimate killer. In these few days, Yang Wu had already integrated the Wind God's Leg innate ability into the Scud Kick, unleashing an incomparably powerful force. No, it should be said that he had integrated the Scud Kick into the Wind God's Leg innate ability, forming an even more powerful Wind God's Leg innate ability. In the end, the innate ability was the dominant force between the innate ability and the battle technique. The unique force of the battle technique had already been integrated. In other words, Yang Wu's Wind God's Leg innate ability could explode with the speed and attack power of the Scud Kick. After reaching this stage, the strength of Yang Wu's legs would be incomparably powerful. His running speed would also be much faster. At this moment, Yang Wu was running in the valley. One could only see a series of afterimages flashing past. It was almost as if the wind was sweeping away the clouds. It was difficult to pinpoint his position and determine where his real body was. All of a sudden, he bounced up and kicked the mountain wall violently. Bang! Bang! Countless footprints were left on the mountain wall. Many mountain rocks collapsed and fell. The power of his kicks was quite astonishing. This was only because Yang Wu had not used the power of his celestial qi. If he had used the power of his celestial qi, the mountain would have exploded on the spot. Yang Wu landed. The dust that filled the air could not get close to him at all. It was rippled and scattered. At this moment, a group of eagle riders suddenly galloped over from the sky and swooped down in his direction. Roar! Before these eagle riders could get close, a fire cloud tiger roared at the sky. The aura of a demon king swept out, causing the eagle riders to cry out in alarm and panic. The cultivators sitting on the eagle riders also revealed looks of fear. They all urged the eagle riders to return to the sky, not daring to rashly come down. "Is the one down there Yang Wu?" someone on the eagle riders called out. Yang Wu only raised his head. He did not even bother to respond. "My master's name is not something you can casually call out. Get lost immediately." The fire cloud tiger stood on a rock and roared angrily. It spat out a flame and rushed forward. Several eagle riders were so frightened that they fled as fast as they could. The anger of a demon king was not something they could withstand. It took almost half a month to find me. It seems that they really won't cry until they see the coffin. Yang Wu sighed and shook his head. He walked to a stream not far away and washed his face. After a while, the eagle riders returned. This time, there were dozens of them in total. "Nephew Yang Wu, please come out for a meeting." Meng Heilong's voice rang out. On the day Shui Gui returned to Royal City, he was the first to rush up. At that time, Shui Gui had held back and did not kill him. Now, he was sent to this mountain range to find Yang Wu's whereabouts. The fire cloud tiger roared again. It wanted nothing more than to rush up and devour the dozens of eagle riders. Yang Wu walked over and patted the fire cloud tiger's head. It lay down like a docile kitten. When the riders in the sky saw this scene, they were surprised for no reason. Their eyes were filled with reverence. This youth in front of them looked only 17 or 18 years old, but he could easily suppress a demon king. It was enough to show that this youth was extraordinary. Yang Wu raised his head slightly and said indifferently, "Come down and talk." Meng Heilong did not expect that the youth who had been struggling on the edge of life and death in prison a year ago had already grown to this level. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would have thought that it was all an illusion. He sighed softly, "Come down with me." Only then did the eagle riders descend into the nameless valley. These dozens of eagle riders were all cultivators in the general realm. They were all wearing battle armor and wielding battle weapons. They were very powerful and extraordinary. Meng Helong had already entered the king realm. Although he was injured, his aura was completely different from before. "Nephew Yang Wu, I finally found you," Meng Helong said with a gentle smile. Yang Wu smiled at Meng Helong and asked, "Commander Meng, why are you looking for me?" Yang Wu did not have a good impression of Meng Helong. After what happened in prison, he was even more disgusted. He felt that this person in front of him was a two-faced guy. He was too sinister and hypocritical. "Yang Wu, I'm your Uncle Meng. Why are you treating me like an outsider?" Meng Helong said with a smile, "I'm just a traitor. I don't dare to claim connections. It's not good to ruin Commander Meng's reputation." Yang Wu replied, "Yang Wu, you must be joking. This time, I'm bringing you good news. The imperial court already knows about what happened to you. It's all because of vile people. You can now resume your official position and represent the Great Xia dynasty to sign a treaty with the barbarian tribe. Come back with me quickly," Meng Helong said enthusiastically. Just resume my official position?" Yang Wu was stunned for a moment before he asked. "Of course it's not that simple. After signing the treaty, there will be all kinds of rewards waiting for you," Meng Helong said again. Yang Wu laughed softly and shook his head. "Don't treat me like a 3-year-old kid. Whoever wants to sign the treaty can sign it. Don't come looking for me. I'm already prepared to be an idle person. What does the hatred of the country have to do with me?" This time, Meng Helong became anxious and hurriedly said, "Yang Wu, don't let loyalty get the better of you. This matter is very important. Don't you want to see your parents again?" At this point, Yang Wu's aura suddenly burst forth. That majestic power forced Meng Helong to retreat continuously. The other soldiers and knights all revealed looks of horror. They felt as if a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts. It was so uncomfortable that they couldn't speak. What a terrifying aura, they all exclaimed in their hearts. At this point, they finally knew how powerful this young man in front of them was. It was no wonder that the Fire Cloud Tiger was so obedient. This was a remarkable young king. "You dare to use my parents to threaten me?" Yang Wu shouted loudly. Every dragon had a reverse scale, and Yang Wu's reverse scale was his family. Wasn't the reason why he worked so hard to cultivate, and even led the barbarian army here to negotiate a treaty and made such a big fuss so that he could reunite with his family? No, Yang Wu, you've misunderstood. I just wanted to say that if you can resolve the issue of peace with the barbarian tribe, everything else will be easily resolved, Meng Helong hurriedly explained. Go back immediately and ask the imperial court to show their sincerity. Otherwise, the barbarian army will trample the Great Xia dynasty, Yang Wu said coldly. Chapter 305. Yang Wu was no longer a 3-year-old child. After going through many hardships, he had become an iron-blooded man. His wisdom had matured, and he wasn't someone that Meng Helong could sway with just a few words. He already knew that the barbarian army had surrounded the barbarian army. However, he didn't interfere and didn't care about it. He already had some understanding of the barbarians. They were men of their word and wouldn't go back on what they had promised him. If the barbarians went back on their word and massacred more than 100,000 barbarians, he wouldn't let them off so easily. He believed that the barbarians also knew how powerful he was and that he had the ability to do so. It was precisely because of this thought that he calmly stayed here to cultivate. No matter what the outcome was, he vowed to return to Monarch City. It was just a matter of whether he would return with glory or kill his way back. Now, it seemed that the barbarians were keeping their promise. At the same time, Great Xia was starting to panic. Meng Helong and the rest came to look for him. It could be seen that the barbarian army was putting a lot of pressure on Great Xia. Meng Helong's mouth was dry, but it was useless. What Yang Wu wanted wasn't as simple as being reinstated. How could others understand the disaster that his young family had suffered and the blow that they had suffered, especially his younger brother, who was a top scholar? Before he could realize his ambitions, he was forced to give up his official position and leave his hometown. That kind of pain was deeply ingrained in Yang Wu's bones. His brother, who was as close as brothers, had become like this because of him. He wanted to take back what he had lost and give his brother a bright future. Meng Helong couldn't persuade Yang Wu. He could only return to Monarch City quickly and report Yang Wu's request to the emperor for him to make a decision. The emperor didn't have the mood to think about it. He immediately announced the release of Yang Jinnan and his wife and conferred the title of imperial envoy to Yang Wu. He was promoted to the position of lieutenant general and count, representing Great Xia, to sign a peace treaty with the barbarians. This imperial edict was quickly sent to the Wolf Smoke Mountain Range and read out to Yang Wu by Meng Helong. After listening to the imperial edict, Yang Wu revealed a satisfied smile. He bowed slightly and received the imperial edict. "Thank you for your grace." Yang Wu's acceptance of the imperial edict was a complete disdain for the imperial court and the emperor. However, Meng Helong and the others didn't even dare to fart. Yang Wu was already so powerful that even the barbarians listened to him and were willing to negotiate peace with him for 10 years. This alone was something that no one in Great Xia could do. Even the War King of Death, who was once the strongest in the world, didn't have this ability. Since Yang Wu had done it, he had the right to put on airs. After all, the imperial court was acting according to Yang Wu's wishes. This was equivalent to having a high merit overshadowing the master, and it was easy to be feared by others. Yang Wu no longer cared about this. He was a person who had been in prison, on the battlefield, and experienced life and death. Why would he be afraid of those rumors? He could clearly feel that once he had absolute power, even the emperor would have to act according to his wishes. If he hadn't been born in Great Xia and missed his family, he wouldn't have had to go through so many twists and turns. He could have left his hometown to cultivate in seclusion and come back to take revenge when he had unparalleled combat power. Now, the official title given by Great Xia was not bad. He was directly promoted to count. The title of nobility was a symbol of Great Xia's nobility. Many people who had an official position might not have a title of nobility. They had to have been officials for 3 generations or had made great contributions before they could receive the title. Yang Wu's father, Yang Jinnan, was originally a hereditary count. In his generation, he could only be a hereditary viscount. That was considered a symbol of nobility in Monarch City. Now that he could become a count, he wasn't any worse than his father. Yang Wu didn't push his luck. Even if it wasn't a problem for him to become a marquis with his contributions and strength, things had to be done step by step. He couldn't be anxious. Yang Wu, Count, what do you think about the negotiation? Our people are running out of food. If this goes on, they will starve to death even if they don't get killed by the barbarian army, Meng Helong said. All right, let's go. Yang Wu said and waved his hand in a direction. A beauty riding a dragon-blooded horse appeared, followed by a tortoise and a tiger. Both of them emitted the strong aura of a demon king. Meng Helong exclaimed in his heart, Yang Wu has really made a name for himself. Before this, he had already regarded Yang Wu as a dead man. In his heart, he was optimistic about Yang Wu. He believed that Yang Wu would eventually come back after going through hardships and ascending to a high position. But now, Yang Wu hadn't done anything, but Yang Wu had already caused such a huge commotion. Furthermore, his strength had already reached such a high level. Meng Helong was filled with regret. If he hadn't helped Yang Wu in the mountain prison, or if he hadn't set up obstacles for Yang Wu, perhaps Yang Wu wouldn't be so estranged from his uncle. Yang Wu and Meng Bingxue rode the dragon-blooded horse together and slowly headed towards the barbarian army. Many of the generals in the barbarian army had already been captured. It could be said that they were like a group of dragons without a leader. Moreover, they were surrounded by the barbarian army. Whoever dared to break out of the encirclement would be killed on the spot. They had a lot of people, but without a powerful king, they couldn't fight against the barbarian army. They could only obediently stay where they were and wait for the imperial court to send someone to save them. So many days have passed. Why hasn't anyone come to save us? Could it be that the imperial court has already given up on us? I'm so hungry. I want to find something to eat. Otherwise, I'll die. Let's just fight it out with those barbarians. If we can kill one, it'll be one. If we can kill 2, we'll have profited. Why are all of you quarreling? Our generals have all been captured by the barbarians. Why do we have to fight them? Let's just wait. The imperial court will definitely help us out. What are we waiting for? Let's fight it out with the barbarians. Rather than waiting for death here, we might as well fight it out with them. As time passed, a portion of the great Xia soldiers couldn't help but become restless. Someone even took the lead and charged towards the barbarian army. The barbarians had always been at odds with the great Xia soldiers. The barbarians surrounded the great Xia soldiers but didn't kill them. It wasn't because they were merciful, but because they were forced to follow orders. That was why they suppressed their anger and didn't kill the great Xia soldiers. Now that someone dared to attack them, they could finally raise their weapons and slash at the great Xia soldiers. How dare you prisoners be so arrogant? Kill all of you, a barbarian general shouted. One by one, the barbarian soldiers attacked the great Xia soldiers without hesitation. Both armies were impulsive. The great Xia soldiers were starving. They were prepared to fight to the death and kill as many barbarians as they could. The barbarian soldiers already had enmity with the great Xia soldiers. They were full of energy and had astonishing brute force. When they killed, they wouldn't show any mercy. The barbarian kings here had already noticed the commotion, but they turned a blind eye to it. It was also a good thing to let the soldiers vent their anger. Following the start of the small-scale killing, both armies started to become restless. The great Xia soldiers thought that the barbarians were going to kill them, while the barbarians thought that the great Xia soldiers were going to kill their way out. Naturally, they wouldn't let the great Xia soldiers succeed. Just when both armies were about to riot, Shi Shafeng, as the great general, couldn't let the situation turn out like this. He soared into the sky and roared, "Everyone stop!" Unfortunately, his words could only intimidate the soldiers of his own race and couldn't suppress the great Xia soldiers. Since we're going to die anyway, why don't we kill 2 more barbarian thieves? That's right, let's fight it out together. We won't die cowardly deaths. Kill. I'm going to go all out today. The threats of the barbarian kings were no longer effective. The great Xia soldiers completely rioted and wanted to fight to the death with the barbarians. It was a mess. It was a complete mess. The strength of both armies started to compare. Although the barbarians had the upper hand, they had some misgivings. If they really went on a killing spree, they would be completely disobeying the orders of the patriarch and the 3 guardians. If that happened, they would be punished. Stop these great Xia soldiers, stop them. Don't be heavy-handed. Shi Shafeng started to get anxious. He ordered loudly, and at the same time, he swooped down onto the battlefield and knocked down the great Xia soldiers one by one. However, with so many people rioting, it was impossible for both armies to not have casualties. Some of the great Xia soldiers were killed, and some of the barbarians were also killed. Screams and sounds of killing shook the sky, causing the battlefield to be in chaos. Bastards, I told you to suppress the great Xia soldiers, not to kill them. Huangfu Dalong had been holding the line. After seeing the situation going out of control, he couldn't help but roar. He hurriedly asked the other barbarian kings to take action together and do their best to suppress this riot. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain when Yang Wu appeared. Even though these barbarian kings took action, it was of no use. Like Shi Shafeng, they could stop their own soldiers, but they couldn't stop the great Xia soldiers. What should we do now? Huangfu Dalong was extremely depressed as he shouted in alarm. He couldn't just stand by and watch. With a few ups and downs, he knocked down wave after wave of great Xia soldiers, displaying his heaven realm combat strength and suppressing everyone. The 3 guardians and Huangfu Zhanxiong, who were behind the barbarian army, had already sensed the chaos. Who told them to start a war? How are we going to explain to Brother Yang Wu when he returns? The barbarian bull demon shouted. These children are really insensible. It's fine if we just surround them. How can we make such a big fuss? Brother Yang Wu doesn't like to see this, the tigress also said in dissatisfaction. The celestial phenomenon demon said to Huangfu Zhanxiong, Patriarch, go and settle this matter immediately. We can't let Brother Yang Wu be unhappy. Guardians, the great Xia soldiers couldn't take it anymore and started the fire first. Erlang was forced to resist, Huangfu Zhanxiong explained. No matter what, we must not kill the great Xia soldiers. Peace is the most important thing, the celestial phenomenon demon said solemnly. I understand. I will try my best to make them stop. Huangfu Zhanxiong nodded deeply and ordered the generals beside him to settle this matter as soon as possible. As for the great Xia generals who were not far away, they heard the conversation between the three guardians and Huangfu Zhanxiong. All of them were shocked. They wondered if they had heard wrongly. The three celestial phenomenon demons seemed to be on Yang Wu's side. Even Huangfu Zhanxiong didn't dare to go against their wishes. What was going on? Was Yang Wu really that capable? At this moment, Yang Wu arrived late. He immediately rushed to the sky and shouted, "All of you stop!" Chapter 306. Yang Wu's voice was like a sudden clap of thunder and seemed to contain traces of a flood dragon. It was very shocking. He was high up in the air, and his entire body emitted an incomparably brilliant glow. He was like a blue sun shining on everyone, causing them to inexplicably stop in their tracks. The Imperial Envoy Yang Wu is here. Soldiers of Great Xia, listen to my orders. Retreat. Yang Wu's voice was loud and sonorous, and it fell into the ears of every Great Xia soldier. Yang Wu's name had long been deeply ingrained in the hearts of the soldiers. He was a legend and the idol of the younger generation. If it weren't for the fact that his betrayal had been exposed, his status in the hearts of the soldiers would have been even higher. Now, his appearance could indeed stabilize the morale of the soldiers, but it didn't mean that all the soldiers would listen to his orders. After all, they all felt that Yang Wu was still siding with the barbarians and was a traitor. At this moment, Meng Helong flew over and hurriedly read out the imperial edict. His Majesty has decreed that Yang Wu will be promoted to the position of Imperial Envoy Protector General to discuss the matter of peaceful coexistence with the barbarians. Yang Wu will be able to handle all the matters at the border. He hopes that all the soldiers will do their best to assist him. Thank you very much. After hearing Meng Helong's announcement, the Great Xia soldiers were so moved that they cried out in surprise. The Imperial Court has indeed not forgotten us. Thank you, His Majesty. Thank you, General Yang. Long live His Majesty. So, General Yang isn't a traitor? That's great. I knew he wouldn't be a bad person. Last time, General Yang Wu appeared and turned the tide. This time, lead us to kill these barbarians. After the Great Xia soldiers were ordered to stop, it was much easier for the barbarians. Under the orders of Huangfu Dalong and Shi Shafeng, they quickly retreated. After splitting up, the number of casualties was clear. A few hundred soldiers from Great Xia died, and more than 1,000 were injured. On the other hand, the barbarians had fewer casualties and fewer injuries. This was all thanks to Yang Wu's timely return. Otherwise, the Great Xia soldiers might have been completely wiped out. Yang Wu looked at the dead and could only sigh heavily. Bury them first. If anyone is injured, I will give them healing pills later. Then, he looked at Huangfu Dalong and said, have your people retreat first. We'll talk next. There's no need for them to stay here. Brother Yang Wu, it's good that you're back. I'll get them to withdraw, Huangfu Dalong said with a sigh of relief. Then, he ordered all the barbarian soldiers to retreat. These barbarian soldiers all knew of Yang Wu's name. Even though they didn't know how Yang Wu had gained the recognition of their guardian and patriarch, this wasn't something they needed to worry about. They just needed to obey. The barbarian army retreated like a receding tide. The tense nerves of the Great Xia soldiers were finally relieved. Many of them went limp on the spot. They were so hungry that they couldn't bear it anymore. Yang Wu scanned them with his divine consciousness and said loudly, all commanders, head to the granary immediately and start eating. The granary had been occupied by the barbarian army long ago. Now that the barbarian army had retreated in Yang Wu's command, the Great Xia soldiers became excited. There's finally something to eat. Quickly head to the granary and find something to eat. Many soldiers couldn't help but want to rush to the granary. It was a mess again. Yang Wu had no choice but to speak again. Those who don't listen to the commands of the commanders and snatch the food will be killed without mercy. Yes, General Yang. The commanders of the various military camps shouted in unison. The commanders of the various military camps began to show their might. They reorganized the order of their respective military camps and restored military discipline. Yang Wu didn't have time to care about them. He walked over to Huangfu Dalong and Huangfu Zhanxiong, cupped his hands, and said, "Patriarch Huangfu, Senior Dalong, can you release the general of our army? We can release him at any time." Huangfu Zhanxiong replied heroically. "Then release him. Our two clans are here to negotiate peace. We can't hurt our relationship," Yang Wu replied. "General Yang is right. My clan came here with full sincerity. You Great Xia people are too slow." Huangfu Zhanxiong nodded in response. He then said to Huangfu Dalong, "Release them all." Huangfu Dalong then led his men back and brought Fun Tianxiong, Su Tinghong, and the others over. 20 to 30 king-level generals were escorted over like captives. Their old faces were flushed red and looked very ugly. They had always felt that they would rather die on the battlefield than be captives for a day. However, the appearance of the heaven demon from the barbarians was too sudden. They didn't even have the chance to die before they were captured. This made them feel extremely sullen. Yang Wu welcomed the dejected generals and said, "Generals, you have suffered." "Yang Wu, this was all part of your scheme, wasn't it?" Nan Qi glared at Yang Wu and shouted. Yang Wu said in a low voice, "General Nan, I don't know what you're talking about. You're a traitor. Don't think that we're blind." Nan Qi scolded again. Yang Wu sneered and said, "When we sign the peace agreement, you'll know whether or not I, Yang Wu, am a traitor. I'll wait and see how you betray your country for glory," Nan Qi said with a sullen face. Yang Wu couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. Instead, he had Huangfu Dalong release all of their seals. When Huangfu Dalong unsealed Nan Qi, he deliberately increased his strength, causing Nan Qi to cry out in pain. He said, "Incompetent people dare to criticize Brother Yang Wu's abilities. I really don't know if all of you from Great Xia have a screw loose in your heads." All of the generals looked at Yang Wu with complicated expressions. They didn't know what they were thinking. They were all veterans of the battlefield and could see that Yang Wu's relationship with the barbarians wasn't shallow. If Yang Wu really betrayed them, would they still have a way out? Would an army of more than 100,000 still have a way out? The answer was obviously no. It was because of this that they felt very puzzled. What kind of agreement did Yang Wu and the barbarians reach that made them go to war to negotiate peace? "All right, generals, go back and rest first. I'll talk to them about the following matters," Yang Wu said as he looked at the generals who had been unsealed. Fun Tianxiong sighed softly and said, "Yang Wu, remember that the blood flowing in your body is the blood of Great Xia." After he finished speaking, he led the way back to the barracks. Su Tinghong went to Yang Wu's side and glared at him. "If you dare to betray your country, I won't let you off." Chao Jianda patted Yang Wu's shoulder lightly and left without saying anything. The other generals didn't say anything. They already didn't have the face to stay here. After returning this time, what awaited them was a punishment of demotion. They might even have to retire and return to their hometowns. In front of everyone, Yang Wu said to Meng Helong, who was behind him, "Commander Meng, does the imperial court have any opinions on this peace negotiation?" Meng Helong was stunned for a moment before he replied, "No opinions. As long as we can negotiate peace and release all the soldiers. They really don't have any aspirations." Yang Wu sighed softly. Then he waved his hand at Meng Helong and said, "All right, there's nothing else for you to do. You can leave first. I'll have a chat with my barbarian friends." After he finished speaking, he ignored Meng Helong and followed Huangfu Zhanxiong and Huangfu Dalong in the direction of the three great protectors. Meng Helong looked at Yang Wu and the supreme leader of the barbarian race walking side by side. They were talking and laughing. Suddenly, he had an illusion. It was as if he was looking at a young dragon that was rapidly growing up into a real dragon that could strike fear into the hearts of others. He was deeply in awe. Damn it, I thought that Yang Wu was the only demon. I didn't expect him to be so abnormal. These two brothers, one in civil and one in martial arts, who in Great Xia can block their radiance. Meng Helong cursed in his heart. Only now did he realize how stupid he had been in the mountain prison. Soon, Yang Wu and Huangfu Zhanxiong met the three great heavenly demons again. Yang Wu revealed a flattered expression and said, "Two brothers and sister. Yang Wu, how could I have attracted you to come together? Haha, brother Yang Wu's business is our business. After you left, we thought about it and decided to help you to the end, so that the people of Great Xia won't stab you in the back." The barbarian bull demon walked over and gave Yang Wu a hug while laughing loudly. It was quite strong. Fortunately, Yang Wu's body was strong enough. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured by the barbarian bull demon. "Old bull demon, you're taking advantage of brother. I want a hug too." Without another word, the tigress pushed the barbarian bull demon away and hugged Yang Wu tightly. She was tall and big, and Yang Wu's face was deeply buried in her ample bosom, almost suffocating him to death. "Sister, let go of me. I can't breathe." Yang Wu struggled and said, "Haha, tigress, brother Yang Wu doesn't care about your benefits." The barbarian bull demon laughed from the side. The tigress let go of Yang Wu and said, "What do you mean by not being cheap? We and brother Yang Wu are blood-related siblings." Third sister is right. Brother Yang Wu has been recognized by the heavenly stairway, which means that he has been recognized by our clan's god. He will be our brother in the future. His business is our business. The heavenly elephant demon said this specifically for Huangfu Zhanxiong and Huangfu Dalong to hear. Huangfu Zhanxiong and Huangfu Dalong nodded deeply. They understood what it meant. "Thank you, brother and sister. I won't say much. When I am free, I will find you for a drink." Yang Wu thanked the three sky demons gratefully. He did not expect the three sky demons to be so sentimental. He felt guilty, but at the same time, he wanted to repay them well in the future. After the three sky demons and Yang Wu caught up for a while, they left the time to Huangfu Zhanxiong. They did not want to get involved in the peace talks between the Xia kingdom and the barbarians. Huangfu Zhanxiong did not wait for Yang Wu to speak. He took out the contract that he had already drafted and said, "Brother Yang Wu, General Yang Wu, take a look at this contract. What do you think?" He originally wanted to call him Brother Yang Wu, but when he thought about how the three guardians would call him that, it seemed inappropriate. He quickly changed the way he addressed him. Yang Wu took the contract and read it carefully. Chapter 307. It was the season between spring and summer. It was drizzling and the spring was cool. Everything was thriving and full of vitality. Yang Wu represented Great Xia to sign a peace treaty with the barbarian race. This time, Yang Wu didn't sign the treaty with the barbarian race alone. Instead, it was signed by Yang Wu and the chief of the barbarian race under the witness of the generals of both sides. The generals of Great Xia all thought that Yang Wu would cede some land to the barbarian race and ask for peace. However, they didn't expect that not only did Yang Wu not cede any land, but he also requested for all the barbarian race to withdraw from the Wolf Smoke mountain range and 50 miles away from the mountain range. He also requested for the barbarian race to give Great Xia some gold, silver, jewelry, and some cloth, as well as 2,000 war horses as compensation. These things weren't considered a lot of wealth to Great Xia, but the symbolic meaning was different. In a war between nations, face was more important than anything else. Great Xia didn't have to pay anything else, and instead received some compensation from the barbarian race. This was equivalent to Great Xia winning the war between the two nations and occupying the dominant position. This was enough for them to be complacent. To the barbarian race, these were unacceptable. However, they claimed that these were gifts for Yang Wu. This was because Yang Wu was an important guest of the barbarian race. Giving him some gifts wasn't a big deal. The three great guardians revealed that Yang Wu was someone recognized by the barbarian god. This was undeniable. Only then could the barbarian race make such a decision. This was why their hearts were unstable. Yang Wu, on the other hand, gave all of the compensation he had received to the imperial court, except for the war horses. He did not leave anything behind. This was considered giving enough face to the imperial court. As for whether they appreciated it or not, At least he had successfully completed his task as an imperial envoy. Many generals of Great Xia witnessed this treaty with their own eyes. Both sides dripped blood as proof and stamped the seal of the nation. They swore that they couldn't break the treaty at will. Otherwise, they would be punished by the heavens. This was a true spiritual treaty and also a treaty of the fate of the nation. It was extremely formal, and there weren't any problems. After the treaty was established, an auspicious power descended from the heavens and blessed the two nations, forming the shackles of the treaty. It also affected the fate of the two nations. Good, very good. Su Tinghong was a high-level king, so he could feel the arrival of fate. After confirming the authenticity of the contract, he couldn't help but cry out in excitement. It's finally peaceful. In the future, fewer people will die at the border. Fun Tianxiong also revealed a gratified expression. Chao, Jinda said, General Yang Wu is not a traitor. He has contributed greatly to Great Xia. General Yang Wu is amazing. Someone shouted, and the soldiers behind him all cheered. General Yang Wu is amazing. General Yang Wu is amazing. The sound waves grew louder and louder, piercing through the sky. It was deafening. At this moment, Yang Wu's popularity and prestige had reached its peak. He had become the most cohesive and youngest lieutenant general. Yang Wu listened to these shouts and raised his head with incomparable enjoyment. He squinted his eyes and allowed the continuous drizzle to hit his face. His mind was incomparably clear as he said softly, Father, Mother, do you see this? Your son has already begun to become famous in Great Xia. Even the barbarians know my name. I will be able to reunite with you very soon. Yang Wu had worked so hard for so long. Everything was for this moment. He could finally prepare to return to Imperial City. The barbarian army had all retreated and returned to the grasslands. In the future, Great Xia and the barbarians would use the mountain range as the boundary. From now on, the two nations would not invade each other. At least for the next 10 years, there would not be any disputes between the two nations. The various generals of the barbarian army returned to the main camp and began to celebrate. Although they had experienced a false alarm, being able to sign the Treaty of Peace could be considered a success. They were all veterans. Even if they were to retire, they would have no regrets. The only ones who found it hard to accept were Feng Tyson and Nan Qin. Feng Tyson had always been against Yang Wu. Although the two of them had not really started a war, but he often argued with Yang Wu, which proved that he was not happy with Yang Wu. Now that Yang Wu's power was so great that it was completely unstoppable, Feng Tyson was worried about his own safety and status. Nan Qin was still a good person. He was only unhappy with Yang Wu because of his daughter. He also did not expect that Yang Wu would wholeheartedly serve the public and sign such a treaty. He felt very guilty in his heart. Nan Qin gritted his teeth and still walked toward Yang Wu. He knelt down on one knee and said, General Yang Wu, I, Nan Qin, am willing to accept any punishment. His life was saved by Yang Wu, yet he was still trying to defame Yang Wu. He really shouldn't have done that. He was also a man. He dared to admit his mistakes. For someone of his level, there was no one who dared to kneel in public. Yang Wu quickly helped him up and said, General, Nan is too serious. You are only wholeheartedly serving the public. Let bygones be bygones. Yang Wu was not someone who would take a mile after being given an inch. Nan Qin had already forgiven him for doing this. You are a hero of a generation. My daughter is not worthy of you. Nan Qin stood up and sighed, but turned and left. Yang Wu gently shook his head and did not say anything. He handed the contract in his hand to Fun Tianxiong and said, Marshal, I'll have to trouble you to send this back to the court. Fun Tianxiong was stunned. He did not take the contract and instead replied, This contract, I'll leave it to you to bring it back to the court. You have been given the title of Protector General and Count. You have to return to the court to receive your reward. Yang Wu forcefully stuffed the contract into Fun Tianxiong's hands and said, You are the Grand Marshal here. I will not take back my title because of this. Fun Tianxiong was speechless. His eyes were already moist. Yang Wu was throwing this great merit to him. At the same time, He was giving him a protective talisman. The Grand Marshal, and many other generals were captured by the barbarians. He had lost all face. This time, the court would definitely not let them go. However, with this contract in his hands, it was completely different. It was equivalent to having an extra death exemption token. Even if he was demoted, he would not be executed. The other generals did not think that Yang Wu would be so magnanimous. Their impression of him in their hearts rose sharply. This kind of young man was simply a hidden dragon. He had already soared into the sky. Who could stop him? Order was restored in the barracks again. Many of the barracks were celebrating. Yang Wu went to find Wan Lanxin, Shou Ho, and Lu Ji. Since Yang Wu was judged as a traitor, anyone related to Yang Wu was captured. Wan Lanxin, Shou Ho, Lu Ji, and the rest of the Death Legion were not left behind. At first, Jin Yin wanted to target Wan Lanxin. If not for Shou Ho and Zhou Yidao's protection, that guy would have succeeded. Later on, when the barbarian army attacked, no one paid attention to them. When the barracks were surrounded by the barbarians, they were released. They were prepared to be the vanguard. Unfortunately, they were not of much use. When they saw Yang Wu again, they all knelt and said in unison, "Welcome back, Commander." Yang Wu looked at these people and said, "Everyone, get up." When everyone got up, he said, "You've all been wronged, right?" Hearing this, everyone's eyes turned red. It was impossible for them not to feel wronged, but more than that, they felt aggrieved. It was not easy for them to follow the right master, but their superiors changed him just like that. This made them very sad. Du Guang Fo stood up and said, "Commander, I'll only follow you from now on. I won't recognize anyone else." With him taking the lead, the others also said, "That's right. We'll follow Commander to death." These people's eyes were full of determination. They did not hesitate at all. They had already thought about their decision very clearly. Lu Ji stepped forward and said seriously, "My lord, we're all willing to follow you. Please take us in." Yang Wu nodded seriously and said, "Okay. From now on, you'll be my brothers. Follow me and you'll live a good life." In the past, he did not have the ability to say this. Now, he could say it boldly. As a lieutenant general, he already had the right to lead the army. It would not be difficult for him to take over the Death Legion. In addition, he wanted to completely dominate the Death Legion and make them his private army. This was a small ambition that belonged to him. An army of more than 1,000 people was far inferior to an army of more than 100,000 people. Yang Wu wanted to make them incomparably powerful. They would become the Death Legion of the Yang family army. If anyone dared to touch the Yang family again, the Death Legion would kill their entire family. Yang Wu led the members of the Death Legion to celebrate. As a member of the Death Legion, Jin Yin had long holed up. How would he dare to come out and admit that the Death Legion was his army? He would not be able to keep his life. During the celebration, Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin sat together. He saw that there was a bruise on Wan Lanxin's face. It was obvious that someone had slapped her. The bruise hadn't disappeared yet. He frowned and asked, "Sister, who hit you?" Before Wan Lanxin could reply, Shou Ho had already said, "Who else could it be? It's that so-called new commander." He saw that Sister Lanxin was beautiful and wanted to take advantage of her. At that time, my strength was sealed. Otherwise, I would have beaten him to death. "It's fine. It's all in the past," Wan Lanxin said with a faint smile. "And it's all in the past. Don't think about it anymore," Yang Wu said surprisingly calmly. Shou Ho was stunned. Then he said with dissatisfaction, "Big brother, are we just going to let it go? If we don't let it go, what else do you want?" Yang Wu asked with a smile. "Even if we don't kill him, we have to beat him up to vent our anger," Shou Ho replied. "You're always so impulsive. Sooner or later, you'll suffer. Let bygones be bygones. What's the point of dwelling on it? Big brother, you weren't like this in the past. The one who was hit was Sister Lanxin. Why aren't you worried at all? Forget it. I'm fine. Yang Wu is already a lieutenant general. He has to take care of his status." Buffed. So what if he's a lieutenant general? Is that stupid status more important than your injury? If he's not going to teach that guy a lesson, I'll go. The next day, before Shou Ho could teach Jin Yin a lesson, He first received news that Jin Yin had been ambushed by a spirit demon the night before, that his manhood had been bitten off. Chapter 308. Jin Yin didn't die, but he was living a life worse than death. Last night, he finally had a good night's sleep, but a demon king came out of nowhere and beat him up so badly that he couldn't even recognize his mother. The demon king's strength was far above his, and he couldn't even resist. In the end, his penis was broken, and he lost too much blood and fainted. When the news spread, everyone was stunned. This was clearly an act of revenge aimed at him. Otherwise, why would the spirit demon king attack him instead of sneak attacking others? Everyone was wondering who Jin Yin offended to get revenge like this. He was really pitiful. Those who knew Jin Yin didn't like him. He was arrogant, condescending, and didn't see the big picture. He deserved to be punished like this. After Shou Ho heard the news, he knew that he had wronged his elder brother and hurried to apologize. Yang Wu didn't take this to heart at all. He had already gathered with the generals in the marshal's tent to discuss the matter. General Yang, the two countries have signed a contract. We can all return to the imperial court to await our rewards and punishments. You can return with us. Fun Tianxiong asked Yang Wu. Those who could sit here were all lieutenant generals. Yang Wu was the only one who could sit here, and it was the closest to the front. Yang Wu replied, Marshal Fun, you can go back first. I plan to stay for another half a month before leaving. Is that so? Then I won't force you. What about the barbarians' compensation? Fun Tianxiong asked again. Other than the horses, you can bring the rest back. Yang Wu replied. Good. General Yang knows the big picture. Fun Tianxiong praised. The others also praised him. Yang Wu only left the horses. This was already giving face. If he wanted to leave all of them, no one would dare to make a sound. Then it was time to discuss the distribution of military power to Yang Wu. Yang Wu immediately expressed that he only wanted the Death Legion, and the other legions would be managed by whoever was in charge. Moreover, after this time, the imperial court would definitely have a huge change of personnel, and there was no need for too many people to be stationed here. It was meaningless for him to hold the military power, and he had not thought of rebelling and becoming the emperor himself. After the discussion, Yang Wu would continue to be in charge of the Death Legion. Everything else would have to wait for the imperial court to make a decision. The 2,000 warhorses that Yang Wu obtained were given to his own army, while the remaining 500 were divided among the other armies. Among them, Chao Jianda received 100. This was Yang Wu's reward to him. Back then, no one believed in him, and only Chao Jianda was willing to support him. Just based on this point alone, these 100 warhorses had to be given to him. Chao Jianda was overjoyed. He bet his fate on Yang Wu. Fortunately, his bet was right. He knew that Yang Wu was not a fish in a pond. After the meeting was over, Chao Jianda and Yang Wu left together. On the way, he could not help but say to Yang Wu, Brother Yang Wu, this time I have to thank you for saving my life. Yang Wu replied, General Chao is too polite. This is what I should do. No. Other people do not have the courage of my younger brother. Chao Jianda said flatteringly. After a pause, he rubbed his hands and said, By the way, Brother Yang Wu, before I mentioned to you about refining the profound congealing pill, I don't know if you still remember. Of course, did General Chao gather all the herbs? Yang Wu nodded and replied, Yes, I have already prepared the herbs. I don't know if it is convenient for you to refine them. Chao Jianda said with a look of longing, No problem. Let someone send the herbs over. Before I return to the king's city, I will refine them for you. Yang Wu nodded and said, Many thanks. Chao Jianda said with incomparable gratitude, It's a trivial matter. Just remember our agreement. Yang Wu waved his hand and said. Yang Wu returned to the barracks that belonged to him alone. It was still the barracks of the Death Legion. After he returned, he didn't stay idle. Instead, he began to refine medicinal liquids, preparing to give his subordinates another comprehensive upgrade. This time, he obtained the stalactites from the celestial elephant monster, as well as a lot of herbs from the 3 heavenly wolf monsters. These were enough for him to squander. He was ready to upgrade most of his subordinates to the general realm, and then take them back to the king's city. After Yang Wu prepared the medicinal liquids, he handed them over to Lu Ji and asked him to upgrade more than 1,000 subordinates. After that, Chao Jianda ordered people to send a pile of herbs, which were exactly the herbs needed to refine the profound congealing pill. Yang Wu did not delay and began to enter the state of alchemy. "Little Wu, let me see if you can attract the pill thunder." Little Hay said, "There is still a gap between the profound congealing pill and the Earth King pill. I don't know if I can attract it." Yang Wu replied, "As long as the quality of the pill you refine is high enough, you can attract it." Little Hay replied. Yang Wu nodded and rushed to a quiet mountain nearby to refine the pill. He did not want his tent to be struck by the heavenly thunder. With the improvement of Yang Wu's strength, the power of his divine court Dao flower had also grown. His spiritual force had become more vigorous, and his ability to control herbs had become more precise. Moreover, his refining of pills had become more flexible and practical. Many herbal essences were extracted, and he began to pour the spiritual spring into it, starting to condense the pill. This time, he was refining the profound, congealing pill and not the Earth King pill. He did not need a monster core as the source of power. This profound, congealing pill had a great effect on martial artists who cultivated different kinds of profound qi. It was condensed from hundreds of old herbs, dozens of spirit herbs, and 3 kinds of king medicines. Its efficacy was still very amazing, and it could help a top general realm cultivator to increase their chances of breaking through to the king realm. Yang Wu urged Blue Enchantress to change its size, and when it needed to be condensed, he would completely withdraw it and use his profound qi to forcibly solidify the medicinal liquid. Pung! A dull explosion sounded from the bronze cauldron, and a group of Bian qi floated around. Yang Wu quietly pressed down on the cauldron and waited for a while, but did not see any heavenly thunder. Just as he was about to show a frustrated look, a heavenly thunder suddenly fell down. The power of this heavenly thunder was much weaker than when he had condensed the Earth King pill. Little Hay jumped over to block this heavenly thunder at first. Pung! The heavenly thunder struck Little Hay, and its young body was sent flying. Then, 2 more heavenly thunders fell one after another. Yang Wu was just about to personally block it, when Little Hay bounced up and collided with the heavenly thunder. Woof woof! Little Hay was struck by the heavenly thunder and cried out in pain. Fortunately, the heavenly thunder only fell 3 times before it calmed down and disappeared. This heavenly thunder is so weak. Is it because the profound, congealing pill is too low level? Yang Wu asked in surprise. At this time, Little Hay appeared in front of Yang Wu with a scorched appearance and said, "Not bad. Such a low-level pill can attract ordinary heavenly thunder. It can be regarded as a high-level pill. Later on, I will teach you a high-level alchemy technique." After saying that, it directly fell to the ground and fainted. Obviously, the 3 heavenly thunders just now did not make it too good. Yang Wu picked it up and directly threw it on top of the fire cloud tiger, so that it could sleep more comfortably on top of the fire cloud tiger. The fire cloud tiger was honored, and carefully lay down on its back, so that Little Hay could sleep more comfortably. Yang Wu opened the medicine cauldron and saw that there were 6 profound, congealing pills inside, and said with an incomparably satisfied smile, "It really has improved a lot. No wonder it can attract heavenly thunder." After Yang Wu received the 6 profound, congealing pills, he once again began to refine. He had only used 1 set of materials, so there were still 2 or 3 sets of materials that he could use. Later on, he refined 2 more profound, congealing pills, but did not attract the heavenly thunder like before. Moreover, he only managed to condense 5 pills in each set, which was 1 less than the first set. After Yang Wu put away the pills, he sighed and said, "Alchemy really cannot be sloppy, ya. If there is even a slight problem, then the refined pills will have a big difference." When Yang Wu had refined the first set of pills, he was in the best condition, so the refined pills were also the most perfect. But when it came to the second and third sets of pills, there was already a little gap. His refining process also had some flaws. As such, it was not as good as the quality of the first set of pills. Taking a closer look, Out of the 3 sets of pills, only the first set of pills had a shallow pill vein. It was precisely this pill vein that made the quality of the pills much more extraordinary compared to the other 2 sets of pills. From Yang Wu's book on the basics of alchemy, Yang Wu was clear that the first 2 sets of pills could at most increase the success rate of breaking through to the king realm by 30%, but the first set of pills could actually increase the chances of breaking through to the king realm by 70% to 80%. This was the difference between the pills with pill lightning and those without pill lightning. Yang Wu put away these pills and changed to refining qi boosting pills and acupoint breaking pills, continuing to speed up the improvement of his subordinates. Although using pills to improve one's realm was not necessarily a good thing for the future, the aptitudes of the people in the Death Legion were not very good. Reaching the general realm, or even the king realm, was already their limit. They were already quite satisfied that Yang Wu could help them speed up their progress. If they were allowed to cultivate on their own, who knew how long it would take for them to break through to the next realm? 2 days later, Yang Wu returned to his own barracks. He gave a pill to Li Dazuwei and asked him to send it to Chao Jianda. He kept the rest for his subordinates to use. He first called Wan Lanxin over. Now that she was also a member of the Death Legion, she was no longer a logistician. Wan Lanxin was still as valiant as before. Her armor outlined her curvaceous body perfectly. The wheat-colored skin exposed through the armor was shockingly elastic. She looked more mature and seductive as she moved. "Wu, you're looking for me?" Wan Lanxin came to Yang Wu's side and asked. The fragrance of a virgin emitted from her body instantly made Yang Wu's heart throb. However, an ice-cold aura came from the tent, causing Yang Wu to instantly regain his calm. He said softly, "Sis, you're getting more and more beautiful." "Glib tongue, that's how you trick that woman, right?" Wan Lanxin asked with a strong sense of jealousy. Chapter 309. Wan Lanxin's feelings towards Yang Wu. Even a fool would be able to see it. They could be said to be brother and sister, but there were some things that went beyond the closeness between brother and sister. Yang Wu was also having a headache about this matter. He treated Wan Lanxin as his own sister, but if one day she married another man, he was afraid that he would not be able to bear it. He had to say that all men had the same virtue. For a beautiful woman, they all wanted to take her for themselves, and were not willing to let her throw herself into the arms of others. Yang Wu quickly took out the profound congealing pill and diverted Wan Lanxin's attention and said, "This is the profound congealing pill. It is the pill that you need the most right now. It can help you to become a king." This pill had a pill vein and was much better than the one that he had given to Chao Jianda without any pill vein. Sure enough, after Wan Lanxin saw this pill, she happily smiled and said, "So with this, I can break through to the Earth's sea realm?" Yang Wu replied, "There is only a 50% chance of success. Everything depends on whether your accumulation is enough or not." After a pause, he said, "I can feel that your aura is already very rich. It would not be difficult for you to break through immediately, not to mention that I have something here that can help you succeed." With that, he took out the profound water bead. Wan Lanxin cultivated the profound water qi, so this profound water bead was also very useful for her. Wan Lanxin could feel the floating power of this profound water bead, and was so shocked by the pleasant surprises that Yang Wu had brought her that she did not know how to express it. Since Yang Wu had risen again, he had helped her a lot along the way. What else could she ask for? Wan Lanxin suddenly hugged Yang Wu and kissed Yang Wu's mouth. This time Meng Bingxue did not want to. Her whole body was exuding a cold qi that instantly froze the entire camp. "Bingxue, don't." Yang Wu quickly transmitted his thoughts. It could be said that the two of them were telepathically connected. She could clearly feel his thoughts. After receiving Yang Wu's message, she restrained the chill and flew away in an instant. Tears uncontrollably fell from her eyes. She felt heartache, and her mind was bursting as if some memories were surging into her mind. Yang Wu felt the change in Meng Bingxue, so he pushed Wan Lanxin away and said, "Sister, I am sorry. I have to go and see her." After saying that, he quickly chased after her. Only Wan Lanxin, was left with a face full of bitterness. She sighed softly and said, "You have grown up in the end. In the future, there will be more women who will like you. Perhaps this sister of mine will slowly become redundant." Without any reason, she tightened her grip on the medicinal pills and the profound water bead in her hands. She wanted to break through to the Earth-Sea realm immediately. Yang Wu chased after Meng Bingxue into the mountains. Meng Bingxue was holding her head and screaming, "Ah!" She was in so much pain that the chill she released froze the trees and flowers around her. Yang Wu had the frost spring Qianqi, so he could withstand it. If it were any other king-level warrior, they would definitely be frozen. "Bingxue, don't be like this. She is my sister." Yang Wu hurriedly comforted her. Meng Bingxue couldn't take it. He was afraid that something bad would happen to her. "You heartless man, I will kill you." Meng Bingxue turned around and looked at Yang Wu. Her eyes were like sharp blades that pierced Yang Wu's heart. She threw out a palm attack toward Yang Wu. Yang Wu didn't have any chance to resist. He was hit and spat out blood. Puff! The blood he spat out was quite dazzling. His sternum caved in, and his body heavily smashed into the ground far away. His eyes rolled over, and he lost consciousness. Yang Wu didn't expect that he would be hurt like this. Meng Bingxue losing control was quite terrifying. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Wu woke up again. The wound on his chest had mostly healed, but there was still a chill in his bones, which made him feel very uncomfortable. It was already nighttime. There were beasts roaring and insects chirping, which made the place quiet. Meng Bingxue was kneeling beside him. Her hair was hanging down, and she was sobbing. Yang Wu asked, "Bingxue, are you okay?" Meng Bingxue raised her head, hugged Yang Wu, and said, "I'm sorry." The moment she hurt Yang Wu, she felt even more pain in her heart. She gradually calmed down and stayed by Yang Wu's side. Bits and pieces of memories were coming back to her. It was a pity that she was so badly injured that she couldn't fully recover. "Don't say sorry. It's my fault. Don't think too much about it. When I get better, I will ask little Hay to find some medicine for you to help you recover as soon as possible." Yang Wu said weakly. He mobilized the power in his body to quickly heal his injuries and expel the chill from his body. Not long after, his wounds were much better. Only the chill still needed to be expelled. Even though he had the Xian Shuang Quan Xian Qi, he couldn't expel the power of a Heaven Realm warrior. Yang Wu sat up, and Meng Bingxue sat closer to him. Her body was shaking, and she was still feeling very uncomfortable. Yang Wu held her in his arms and said, "I am Yang Wu. I'm not the one in your heart." At this time, he hated the man in Meng Bingxue's heart. He had hurt Meng Bingxue so badly that he almost lost his life. After the sun rose, Yang Wu's wounds were all healed. However, the chill was still in his body. He couldn't expel it, so he didn't ask Meng Bingxue to take it back. He wanted to refine it and see if it was possible. After Yang Wu returned to the army, he asked Lu Ji to gather everyone. 1,500 people gathered in front of Yang Wu as fast as they could. They were all lined up neatly. Yang Wu looked at his spirited subordinates and said to Lu Ji with satisfaction, "Beautiful Grandmaster, you are really something. You have trained them like a plate of loose sand." "Master, just call me Grandmaster. Can you not add the first few words?" Lu Ji protested. He paused for a moment before continuing, "This is not only due to my contribution, but also due to the contributions of the other commanders. However, the greatest contribution is still due to my lord. How can I compare to you? If you didn't train them, they wouldn't be so spirited." Yang Wu smiled. "My lord, you're wrong. Without your medicinal liquid and pills to attract them, how could they work so hard to cultivate?" Lu Ji said. Shui Ji waved her orchid finger and said, "That's right. The biggest credit goes to you, Commander. If it were any other commander, they wouldn't be as generous as you." Du Guang Fo said. Yang Wu joked, "Looks like it's still the pill's charm that's greater and not this general's charm." This time, all the soldiers couldn't help but laugh. "Right now, I've discovered that half of you have already broken through to the general realm, while the other half are still stuck at the warrior realm. Perhaps your talent has affected your progress, or perhaps you haven't worked hard enough. However, as my Yang Wu's soldiers, you can't be so weak. I will reward each of you with a chi-boosting pill and a meridian-breaking pill. I will give you 10 days. I want all of you to break through to the general realm. Those who haven't broken through will leave this army and be absorbed into another army. Yang Wu said solemnly. This kind of extravagance still shocked everyone present. More than 1,000 people, a pill for each of them. Moreover, they were all given out by Yang Wu alone. He was definitely the #1 person in the army. Even in the entire royal city, no one was as generous and daring as him. Are you confident? Yang Wu asked loudly. Yes, everyone shouted in unison. Shuiji, Du Guang, Fo, Li Daze, Zhou Yong, Zheng Xiaohu, give out the pills. I hope that everyone can accompany me back to the royal city in 10 days. Yang Wu said with great excitement. Yes, General, everyone shouted loudly. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. They had long been sent to the border as suicide soldiers. Who would have thought that they would be able to return to the royal city one day? Most of them still had family, friends, and places they missed. They would have no regrets in life if they could go back and take a look. Not only that, they were even more excited that they could follow a master like this and live with dignity in the future. After the commanders had distributed the medicinal pills, they were allowed to disperse and make breakthroughs. They would gather here again in 10 days. Yang Wu asked the commanders to stay and personally gave each of them a foundation consolidating pill. When the commanders received the foundation consolidating pill, they all knelt on the ground, completely pledging their loyalty to Yang Wu. This foundation consolidating pill can reconsolidate your realm. Only after you reach the great circle of the general realm. I will give each of you a profound congealing pill. This way, the success rate of breaking through to the Earth-Sea realm will be higher. Yang Wu reminded them. Yes, head, the commanders replied. Well, among the few of you, only Shuiji and Du Guang Fo can prepare to break through to the Earth-Sea realm. I will give you a profound congealing pill to help you break through. Yang Wu took out 2 profound congealing pills and handed them to Shuiji and Du Guang Fo respectively. Many thanks, head. I will definitely be the first to break through. Shuiji said with great confidence. Du Guang Fo took the profound congealing pill and bowed to Yang Wu before saying, If I don't break through, I won't have the face to see the head. They had already reached the peak of the general realm, and after being cleansed by Yang Wu's medicinal liquid, they indeed had the ability to break through. Yang Wu's pills and profound congealing pills were like timely rain, helping them to soar. In addition, the other commanders were envious. This profound congealing pill was a real king pill, and was even more valuable than the foundation consolidating pill. Once they reached the king realm, they could soar to the sky. The significance was completely different. They were all determined to reach the great circle of the general realm as soon as possible and follow Yang Wu all the way to get the opportunity to go further. Very good, you can all disperse. I will see the results in 10 days. Yang Wu nodded with satisfaction. Then he took the skinny monkey and Lu Ji back to the camp. Skinny monkey, I will return to the king city in 10 days. I may not come to the border again. What are your plans? Yang Wu asked the skinny monkey. What plans can I have? Naturally, I will follow Big Brother. The skinny monkey responded on the spot. You have already become a king. It's not bad to be a general in the army. I know, but the border is already peaceful. I can't get any credit if I stay. It's better to go back with you. I believe that Big Brother will need me. Yang Wu thought about it and felt that the skinny monkey's words were reasonable. He immediately said with a look of expectation, Well, you can go back with me. We brothers will go back to the king's city and mess with him. Chapter 310. Royal City, Prince Fu En's mansion. Prince Fu En, who was reprimanding his daughter in the hall, loudly said, This is great. You have caused us a big trouble. I really don't know how can you be so vicious at such a young age. Once Yang Wu returns, you will accompany me to apologize to him. Prince Fu En is a gentleman. He will not get angry easily. But if he gets angry, it means things are very serious. No, I don't want to. He is just a count. We are people with imperial blood. How can he dare to be rude to us? Prince Fu and's daughter fiercely replied, Tang Jiayan is a beautiful girl, but unfortunately, she is too narrow-minded. She can't bear any grievances. She and Song Yuming joined hands to plot against Yang Wu. At the beginning, after Yang Wu refused her proposal, she held a grudge. Song Yuming was interested in her, so he bewitched her to deal with Yang Wu. Later on, Yang Wu tried to rape her. Prince Fu and was furious, so he listened to his daughter's provocation and destroyed the Yang family in one fell swoop. But now, Yang Wu has risen and will return soon. This is the reason why the father and daughter are so anxious. What do you know? The barbarians signed a peace contract with Yang Wu. Do you know what this means? It means that your emperor uncle will have to temporarily avoid the limelight. Let him be proud for a while. This is a meritorious minister of the country. We cannot let him be wronged. Otherwise, the civil and military officials will not agree. Prince Fuan said loudly. After a pause, he added, Such a young earl. Aside from the hereditary title, he is the first one since the founding of the dynasty. Just like his younger brother, no one is younger than them. So, everything that happened before will be forgotten. Do you remember? Prince Fuan said with a deep voice. Father, has he really become so powerful? Tang Jiayan asked with a somewhat panicked expression. The king of youth and the real king of medicine. In the imperial court, I cannot find a better youth than him. Prince Fu and sighed heavily. Then, he said with a slow tone, I have to say, your vision is very good. Unfortunately, he did not like you. After hearing this, Tang Jiayan's face became pale. The sour feeling in her heart became stronger. She pinched the corner of her clothes and said, Father, what if he retaliates against us? If he returns to the capital, we will apologize together and ask for his forgiveness. He is not destined to be a person of our mortal world, but a transcendent world. So, you don't need to worry too much. Prince Fuan said. Then his eyes turned cold and added, The premise is that he can return to the capital. Once such a super genius returned to King City, no one would be able to stop him. The hatred between them would also be settled. Therefore, Yang Wu absolutely could not return to King City. In another mansion in the capital, compared to the prince's mansion, the environment here was less extravagant and more scholarly. This was the Song Mansion, which was also the residence of the current prime minister. It was also the residence of a first-rank official. Prime Minister Song Lirue, was an old minister of 3 generations. From a small county magistrate, he followed the emperors of 3 dynasties. Step by step, he climbed to his current position. It was not easy. Now, his students were all over the country. Among the 10 civil officials, 5 or 6 of them were his students. So, when he said a word in the imperial court, it was sometimes faster than the emperor. From this, it can be seen that Song Lirue has great power. However, Song Lirue will not easily use such power. He has always been very low-key. He will not do anything that will damage the dragon prestige. He always listens to the emperor. This is why he has been sitting in the prime minister position. In addition, he has a good relationship with Prince Fu and in private. He can be described as a fish in water in the capital. On this day, he was slowly boiling tea in the pavilion. His face, which did not show any signs of age, was calm and composed. In front of him stood a restless young man. It was his youngest son, Song Yuming. Song Lirue has 2 sons and 1 daughter. His eldest son and second daughter have gone to the transcendental world. They rarely return to the mortal world. It was because of the existence of his son and daughter that he was able to sit in the prime minister position. His youngest son was not good at martial arts, so he kept it by his side, ready to train him to be his successor. Unfortunately, his son was still not good enough. He had some small tricks, but unfortunately, he was not good enough. This made Song Lirue hate his son for not living up to his expectations. I won't be alarmed, even if the sky collapses. Sit down. After Song Lirue finished boiling the tea, he faintly said. Song Yuming sat down, took a deep breath, and said, Father, then the Yang family has really been re-established? You already know the answer. Song Lirue said in a bad mood. Then, he said, Are you afraid now? Song Yuming shook his head and said, I'm not afraid. I just feel that it is a bit unreal. How long has it been since we last met? I just feel that it is a bit hard to accept. Hard to accept is the right thing to do. Song Lue said. Then he paused for a moment and said, after what you did, you should have eliminated the roots. This is also the reason why Father and Prince Fu joined hands to destroy the Yang family. If it were not for Yang Wan, the Yang family would have been destroyed long ago. Yang Jinan and his wife are not afraid of being locked up. As for Yang Wu and Yang Wan, they will not live for more than half a year. Unfortunately, they will become a problem in the future. This is also something that Father did not expect. What should we do now? Song Yuming asked. You don't need to ask about these things anymore. Father has his own ideas. During this time, you just stay at home and don't cause trouble for me. Then what about me and Jiaoyan? You don't want the wedding to become a funeral. Just hold it now. Father, how can you say that? Even if he goes against the heavens, isn't there still elder brother and elder sister? What can he do to us? What do you know? Back off immediately. In the forbidden area of the imperial palace, the current emperor was listening to a song in the backyard. There was no imperial concubine accompanying him. Only a young girl was sitting beside him and quietly listening to the song. When the song ended, the emperor waved his hand and let the song and dance troupe retreat. Only he and the young girl were sitting together. The emperor looked at the young girl beside him and said with a bit of tenderness, Xiaohan, is this song okay? The young girl blinked her big eyes and innocently said, It's okay, but it's a bit old. You're always so picky. I'm afraid I will have to find the best voice prostitute in the imperial palace to sing a few songs for you. The emperor sighed. No, imperial father, you are very busy every day. It's not easy for you to accompany your daughter to listen to songs. How can I ask for more? Come, let me massage your shoulders. The young girl said very considerately, AI, to have such a considerate little jacket like you, imperial father really can't bear to part with you. The emperor sighed heavily. Imperial father, what are you saying? I will always stay by your side to serve you. The young girl seemed to have heard something, and her expression became a bit more worried. When a daughter grows up, she will eventually have to get married. Not long after, an imperial edict flew directly to the newly opened Yang Manor. By the will of the heavens, the imperial grace is vast and mighty, and the heavens have bestowed a good match. Special General Princess Tang Xiaohan is willing to marry General Guardian Count Xiao Yangwu. The eunuch loudly announced in the cold and cheerless Yang Manor, his voice constantly echoing. The middle-aged couple in the manor were stunned and didn't know what to do. After a long time, they knelt down to receive the imperial edict. Although they were released from prison, they were still under surveillance. They didn't dare to not accept the imperial edict. Moreover, this was a marriage bestowed by the emperor. Who would dare to not accept it? Following this imperial edict, the spies around the Yang Manor all disappeared. The cold and cheerless manor once again became incomparably lively. Many high-ranking officials and nobles came in and out, and all kinds of extravagant gifts were sent to the residents. This couple patiently received and sent off the guests, but they did not accept a single one of those gifts, and all of them were pushed back by them. Their son still hadn't returned. This imperial edict had been issued, but they couldn't act recklessly. Moreover, with their son's stubborn temperament, who knows what kind of trouble he might cause? It was late at night, and the manor was quiet. This couple sat on the stone chairs in front of the courtyard to cool off and talk about some things that were in their hearts. Say, that child were... How did he become a lieutenant general in account? The gentlewoman asked her husband. The middle-aged husband revealed a trace of a smile and said, Our 2 children were born extraordinary. Do you still remember when Wu was born? What appeared? What appeared? The gentlewoman asked back. Didn't you say you were always dreaming? Oh, you're talking about that strange dream? It seems to be true. I felt like my child was a natural fairy born from a lotus flower. I kept having the same dream. Fortunately, it was an auspicious dream. Otherwise, I would have been scared out of my wits. Well, there's also a divine dog that wants to take our son away. Also, a terrifying turtle demon appeared, wanting to carry our son away. Yes, and a bunch of fairy-like wives came at the same time to snatch him away. The more the couple spoke, the more excited they became. Their faces were filled with arrogance. That's right, I wonder how Winter is. We have to bring him back as soon as possible. The woman changed the topic and said, Yes, I hope that kid is fine. His brain is even sharper than his brother's. It's just that his body is weak. It really is worrying. The middle-aged husband sighed softly and said, It was also at this time that a shadow swept in from outside the wall. After this shadow landed, she knelt down in front of the middle-aged couple and said, This one greets master and madam. This was a beautiful woman holding a pipa. She was also the most popular voice prostitute in King City, Tianjin. You? Who are you? The middle-aged man identified the person who had come and asked in surprise. It's my master. This one is incompetent and has caused you to suffer. The beautiful woman said, Karun, my child, it's good that you're fine. The woman ran over with great excitement and hugged the beautiful woman. Yang Karun was a servant of the Yang family. It was better to say that she was the couple's adopted daughter. They had never treated her as a servant. Chapter 3:11. Southern Border Pass. The army stationed here was no longer called the Barbarian Suppression Army, but the Southern Suppression Army. This was a stipulation in the peace treaty between the two countries. Many of the generals of the Northern Suppression Army had returned to court to await orders from the emperor. Whether they should be rewarded or punished, they had to wait. Now, only a few generals were left to guard the pass, and the most senior was naturally Yang Wu. The lieutenant general of the Southern Suppression Army was second only to the Grand Marshal. He could become a general at any time. In addition to being a lieutenant general, he was also a count, known as Count Xiaowu. This meant that Yang Wu was the only youth who had obtained the title of count through his own abilities. Every title was a symbol of nobility. Yang Wu was originally a noble, but now he was even more famous. No one could compare to him in reputation and prestige. Yang Wu didn't have time to manage the army. He only cared about his own death army. He would return to court in 3 days. He had been adjusting his condition these days. He was suddenly afraid that he would hear bad news when he returned to Royal City. He hoped that his family was well. Then everything would be easy. If anything happened to them, he would wash Royal City with blood. He had the ability to do so now. He had been digesting the advanced alchemy techniques that Little Hay had passed on to him. Little Hay had recovered a lot from her trip to the heavenly ladder of the barbarians. She had also been struck by 3 bolts of lightning. Not only had she not been injured, she had also recovered some of her strength. She could now pass on energy memories to Yang Wu. High-level alchemy techniques were different from low-level alchemy techniques. The knowledge contained in them was all-encompassing and strange. These complicated and difficult things could make a person's head explode. If Yang Wu didn't have the divine court Dao flower, Little Hay wouldn't have dared to pass on these memories to him. It took Yang Wu 7 days to imprint the knowledge into the divine court Dao flower. Only then did he feel more comfortable, unlike before when he felt like his head was about to explode. When Yang Wu finished digesting the memories, he rubbed his temples. The path of alchemy is vast. Just as Little Hay said, I've only learned low-level alchemy. These advanced alchemy techniques are the real deal. Now, I can help Bing Xue and Lu Ji. Before, he could only rely on Little Hay's help. Now, he wanted to do it himself. The meaning was completely different. However, everything had to wait until things were over in Royal City. Meng Bingshue's situation was easier to solve than Lu Ji's. Lu Ji's innate constitution had a problem, and the things he needed to find were very difficult to find. He still needed Little Hay's innate spiritual sense to find those things, where he could enter the transcendent realm and see if there was anything he needed. Yang Wu had been in seclusion for 7 days. As soon as he walked out of his tent, he sensed a king's aura in the distance. He looked in that direction and muttered, "Who broke through first?" Then, he took a step forward and flew in that direction. Yang Wu didn't fly, but his speed wasn't slower than flying. It was as if he could shrink the ground into an inch. This was the speed brought to him by the wind god's leg. Soon, he appeared at the bottom of the hill. Then, a figure soared into the sky, and a wave of water profound qi filled the area. "Sister, you broke through." Yang Wu looked at Wan Lanxin, who opened a pair of blue profound wings that were less than 3 meters long. It turned out that the one who broke through to the Earthsea realm was Wan Lanxin. She had succeeded. From now on, she was a true queen. She was no longer a simple soldier who could do whatever she wanted at the border. Take this. Wan Lanxin didn't answer. She shouted and stabbed the spear in her hand at Yang Wu. 7-layered wild waves. Wan Lanxin had received the king's skill from Yang Wu. She had been working hard to cultivate it. She had already reached the proficient level in the first 4 moves. She could explode with a lot of power. After she broke through to the king realm, the power of this attack was also quite impressive, especially with the power of a new breakthrough. Blue waves hit Yang Wu in the face. This bit of power was quite a threat to ordinary people, but to Yang Wu, it was still a child's play. He laughed. I'll practice with little sister. So, Yang Wu met this power with his bare hands. He reached out and grabbed and dissolved this power. Wan Lanxin saw that Yang Wu was so strong, so she was relieved. She launched wave after wave of attacks with all her strength. She used every move of 7-layered wild waves, causing a big commotion. Yang Wu was calm and composed. His arms kept waving, as if there was a soft ripple, and all her power was turned into nothingness. Yang Wu's arms were full of brute force. He didn't even need to use profound qi and could easily block Wan Lanxin's moves. Moreover, he didn't suffer any injuries. Wan Lanxin attacked for a while, then stopped and said snappily, Wu, you're too strong. I can't beat you. It's boring. Yang Wu spread out his hands and said, if I didn't have any ability, how could I have come back alive from the barbarian clan? Only then did Wan Lanxin remember that Yang Wu had gone deep into the barbarian clan. Her gaze became incomparably gentle as she said, don't do such a stupid thing in the future, okay? Yang Wu laughed. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. I won't be impulsive in the future. Fortunately, everything should be over. I'll accompany you back to the king's city. I want to see the faces of those who framed you. Wan Lanxin replied, all right, then let's go back and take a look. Yang Wu laughed. He paused for a moment, then said, I miss the places where we used to play together. What are you lamenting about at such a young age? You're not even 18 yet. Yeah, I'm almost 18 years old, but I feel like I'm already 70 or 80 years old. Stop talking nonsense. Let's go back. Just as Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin were about to return to the barracks, a horse quickly flew over. It was Meng Helong again. He appeared in front of Yang Wu on an eagle mount and shouted, Yang Wu, congratulations. This is a joyous occasion. You're going to be the prince consort. Yang Wu frowned and said, Commander Meng, please call me General Yang Wu or Count Xiaowu. I don't know what the prince consort you're talking about is. Today, his status was already above Meng Helong's, so he had the right to speak like this. Meng Helong quickly changed his words. I'm sorry, Count Xiaowu. I was too excited. I just have a piece of great news to tell you. Your Yang residence has been unsealed, your father's count position has been restored, and an imperial edict has been sent to him. You've been granted a marriage by the emperor. Go back and prepare to marry Princess Xiaohan. You're going to be the prince consort of our Grand Xia. Meng Helong told Yang Wu all this news. Yang Wu's expression kept changing as he listened. When he heard that his father had been restored to his count position, he knew that his parents were fine and was the happiest. As for the rest of the words, he didn't hear them clearly. On the contrary, Wan Lanxin, who was standing at the side, heard everything clearly. Her delicate face turned pale, and only one sentence popped up in her mind. He is going to become the Great Xia's son-in-law? The title of Prince Consort of Grand Xia could only be given to someone who married a real princess. This also meant that Yang Wu was going to marry a princess. This was great news for others, but it wasn't good for her at all. It was like a bolt from the blue had struck her. The joy of breaking through to the king realm fell to the bottom in an instant. It was as if she had fallen from heaven to hell. All this time, she had been conflicted about her relationship with Yang Wu. Only now did she truly understand that she loved Yang Wu deeply and didn't want to lose him. No, he can't marry the princess. Wan Lanxin cried out involuntarily. Sister, what's wrong? Yang Wu looked at Wan Lanxin and asked, You're going to be the prince consort of Grand Xia. How can you face Ziyu? Didn't you want to marry her? Wan Lanxin reprimanded Yang Wu. At this moment, she could only use Ziyu to stop this from happening. What do you mean? I'm going to be the prince consort of Grand Xia. Yang Wu was stunned for a moment. He then asked Meng Helong, what did you say after that? The emperor has decreed a marriage between you and Princess Xiaohan. Meng Helong replied again. Yang Wu laughed and said, what a joke. It's not a joke. The imperial edict has already been sent to your home. Meng Helong said with certainty. Yang Wu touched the bridge of his nose and narrowed his eyes. Perhaps everyone doesn't know, but I went to prison because I rejected the princess's marriage proposal. Now, there's another princess. How interesting. Count Xiaowu, you're not thinking of going against the imperial edict, are you? Meng Helong asked with a shocked expression. Hee, how could I do such a disgraceful thing? Yang Wu said with a smile. He then said, I'll have to trouble Commander Meng to tell me this news. I'll have to trouble you to go back and tell my parents that I'll be returning to King City in 3 days to pay them a visit. This, Meng Helong revealed a troubled expression. Yang Wu said, if you have any difficulties, I'll send someone else to inform them. No, that's not what I meant. I meant that the emperor wanted me to escort you back. Meng Helong said, I'm a high and mighty guardian general. Why would I need a deputy general like you to escort me back? What a joke. Yang Wu said with disdain. Meng Helong's face instantly heated up. He was already a king, but he was still being looked down on by youth. Yang Wu ignored Meng Helong. He grabbed Wan Lanxin's hand and said, Sister, let's go back. We'll return to King City in 3 days to pay our respects to my parents. Wan Lanxin's heart calmed down when Yang Wu held her hand. She nodded and said, and I'll go prepare some gifts for uncle and aunt. Meng Helong watched the young couple walk away and sighed in his heart. Looks like King City is going to be lively again. Chapter 3:12. 10 days had passed. All of the Death Legion's troops gathered once more. The 1,500 people had all broken through to the human general realm. Not a single one of them dared to fall behind. They all desperately tried to break through, gathering unprecedented motivation. Yang Wu had given them medicinal liquid, helping them cleanse their bodies twice, increasing their vitality. He had also given each of them a pill. If they still couldn't break through, then they could just smash their heads against a wall and die. The 1,500 human generals gathered together, each of them releasing a powerful aura that condensed into an indescribable energy. It gave off a very shocking feeling. Yang Wu walked over. On his left was the skinny monkey in Lu Ji, while on his right was Wan Lanxin. They were all wearing battle armor that gave off a dazzling glow. Yang Wu looked at the orderly rows of soldiers and swept his divine sense over them. He could clearly sense their cultivations and said with incomparable satisfaction, You're all very good. Captain is mighty. All of the soldiers shouted out in unison. This voice was mighty and full of aura, shaking the entire army camp to the point that they could sense the abnormality here. Not far away, the soldiers in the army camp already knew of the changes in the Death Legion. They all began to whisper with jealousy. The Death Legion's aura is really strong. They must have eaten some aphrodisiac. You don't know, but I heard that General Yang Wu gave each of them a pill and requested that they all break through to the human general realm. He's preparing to bring them back to Imperial City. General Yang Wu is so biased, giving each of them a pill to help them increase their strength. We are also his subordinates. Doesn't his conscience hurt by doing this? Who told us to not be part of the Death Legion? General Yang Wu came from there and is even more monstrous than the legendary Death Battle King. If he becomes our general in the future, perhaps there will be some benefits for us. General Yang Wu has already been married and is preparing to become the emperor's son-in-law. He definitely won't be coming back. The soldiers of the other barracks yearned to become Yang Wu's subordinates. He was a king of medicine. With his protection, it would be difficult for them not to advance. Unfortunately, Yang Wu couldn't care less about the soldiers in the other barracks. Moreover, the news that he was going to become the emperor's son-in-law had already spread. They felt that there was no hope of becoming Yang Wu's soldiers. Yang Wu was indeed not in the mood to pay attention to the other soldiers. He only wanted these 1,500 soldiers. Otherwise, people would say that he was too meritorious and that the mercenaries were rebelling. The imperial court had long set a rule that no private army could have more than 2,000 men. Yang Wu's 1,500 men did not exceed this rule and could be brought back to serve as his household generals. If other people knew that these 1,500 soldiers were already at the human general realm, what would they think? Moreover, 2 of them were already at the king realm. Shuiji and Du Guangfo had both become kings. They had become the kings of the Death Legion. Their blood qi and minds had become extremely powerful. Li Dazue, Zhou Yong, and Zheng Xiaohu didn't have this kind of ability yet. However, under the stimulation and with the foundation fortifying pill, they would have this kind of opportunity soon. Yang Wu gestured for them to quiet down and shouted, "Get on the horses!" These 1,500 soldiers all got on their horses with weapons in hand. Their well-trained movements were quite stunning. Yang Wu personally brought the dragon-blooded horse to Lu Ji and said, "Beautiful advisor, this dragon-blooded horse has accompanied me through the grasslands. Its horsepower is extraordinary, and it is the horse of the barbarian race's royal family. Today, I will give it to you in front of all my brothers. I hope that you will accompany this general to greater glory in the future." Lu Ji took the reins and bowed solemnly. Lu Ji is willing to die for the Lord. We are willing to die for the Lord. The soldiers of the Death Legion all shouted with great seriousness along with Lu Ji. "Very good. As long as this general is here, I will not mistreat you." Yang Wu looked at them and solemnly promised. Then, he accompanied Meng Bingxue on the back of the silver-patterned tortoise and gave the fire cloud tiger to Shou Ho. They began the journey back to King City. "Let's go." Yang Wu looked in the direction of King City and shouted with anticipation in his eyes. Bang, bang. The sound of galloping horse hooves rang out, and a cloud of dust rose into the air. The troop of more than 1,500 people marched toward Royal City in a grandiose manner. This kind of momentum, this kind of movement showed that Yang Wu had returned. The border and King City were separated by several cities. With the speed of the horses, it would take at least half a month to reach King City. Yang Wu had already embarked on a return journey, so he didn't dawdle any longer. He madly rushed without stopping, alarming the villagers, townspeople, and common people wherever he went. Some city lords hurriedly rolled out of the city lord's mansion to welcome him. These city lords were all kings, and their positions were comparable to lieutenant generals. Unfortunately, Yang Wu did not care about them. His position was equal to theirs. Moreover, he had done many meritorious deeds. It was normal for a young man to be arrogant. These city lords mainly came out to welcome Yang Wu because he could become the emperor's son-in-law. If it was a normal general, they would be more reserved and wait for him to take the initiative to come to them. Yang Wu rushed for 7 days. Other than letting the horses rest at night, most of the time they were on the road. At this speed, they had hopes of returning to Royal City in another 5 days. Yang was really anxious to return home. When they were about to pass by another city, they found that the city's gate was tightly shut. There were even guards holding weapons on the city walls. Yang Wu's eyes were like lightning. He immediately saw the words High Cliff City on the city gate in the distance. High Cliff City was one of the biggest cities in Great Xia. The city lord was one of the top existences in many cities. A high-level king was the head of the Gao clan, the #1 clan in High Cliff City. When Yang Wu and his group arrived outside the city, they heard someone on the city wall shouting, "Who are you? What do you want? Impudent! Why do you have to ask for my general's name? Quickly open the city gate and let us pass. Otherwise, the horses will trample the gate." Zheng Xiaohu raised his weapon and shouted at the guards on the city wall. "This is High Cliff City. All soldiers must dismount and pass. This is the rule. Otherwise, don't even think about entering the city." The guards on the city wall replied firmly. The Gao clan was not only the #1 clan here, but they were also relatives of the emperor. The current empress was a member of the Gao clan. Because of this, they had already claimed High Cliff City as their territory. Other than the emperor's orders, everything had to be done according to their rules. "My lord, this is the Gao clan's territory. They are not weak. They are the current Empress Gao's family. Should we make an exception?" Lu Ji reminded Yang Wu. Lu Ji was well-read and knew the geography of Great Xia very well. Otherwise, he would not have been able to become the advisor. Yang Wu was silent for a moment. Then, he shouted, "Trample the gate! Trample the gate!" All the soldiers replied excitedly. After they had all advanced to the general realm, they were all eager to fight. Since the High Cliff City did not know what was good for them, they could not blame them for being impolite. In the blink of an eye, 1,500 warhorses charged forward in a frenzy. The shocking sound of the horses' hooves shocked both the inside and outside of the city. The guards on the city wall were all shocked. Someone kept screaming, "Don't come any closer. If you come any closer, we will shoot the arrows." The Death Legion ignored them. Lu Ji waved the war flag in his hand. A cone-shaped formation was formed and slammed into the city gate. "Shoot the arrows! Shoot the arrows!" The guards on the city wall cried out. The hundreds of guards on the city wall shot the arrows. Many arrows were shot at the Death Legion. Suddenly, two figures burst out, and their majestic king's aura swept towards the arrows. Many of the arrows were shaken and turned into dust. "How dare you shoot arrows at our general? You're courting death." Xueji and Du Guang Fo leaped onto the city wall and attacked the guards here. The two kings were very powerful. The strongest of these guards was only in the general realm. They were all mercilessly injured by the two kings. They knew their limits and did not kill them directly. Otherwise, it would be used against them and cause more trouble for their commander. At this moment, the soldiers and horses of the Death Legion had already arrived in front of the city gate. Over a dozen warhorses at the front raised their hooves high and stomped on the city gate with powerful hooves. Bang! The warhorses were very powerful. They stomped on the heavy city gate. Not long after, the city gate festered on the spot. The guards behind the gate were all frightened and retreated. "The rebel army is charging in. The rebel army is charging in." The guards all began to shout in panic. They had never been provoked like this. Now that there was such a group of people attacking them, they were really scared out of their wits. 1,500 cavalrymen charged into the city like a tidal wave. The guard behind the city gate were all trampled into a mess by the horses. Screams rang out one after another. "All troops, listen to my order. Do not cause any harm to the people." Lu Ji's voice rang out. "Yes, Grandmaster." The soldiers slowed down their momentum and responded. Yang Wu said that Lu Ji's words were equivalent to his words. No one would ignore Lu Ji's words just because he was a weak advisor. At this moment, Yang Wu sat on the silver-patterned tortoise and slowly appeared in front of the soldiers. He led them forward. He wanted to see what the Gao family was up to. Soon, a group of people came to greet them. This group of people had an extraordinary aura. Everyone was sitting on a different spirit beast mount and holding different weapons. They were all glaring at Yang Wu's group. The leader was sitting on a leopard beast. He held a war spear and shouted, "How dare you invade our high cliff city? Quickly get off your horse and accept your death." "Big brother, this guy is retarded. Let me teach him a lesson," Shouho said to Yang Wu. He rode the fire cloud tiger and charged over. He cursed, "Idiot, eat your grandpa's son's staff." Chapter 3:13. The skinny monkey attacked as soon as he said he would. He didn't give the other party any room to maneuver at all. He swung the broken staff in his hand, and a powerful force of fire blasted towards the person in the lead. The man riding on the demonic leopard was called Gao Fengyan, and he was the third son of the current city lord. He was also a beginner king tier, but he was only 35 years old. He could be said to be young and promising. He had always been arrogant in the city, so he wasn't afraid when he saw others attacking him. He raised the battle halberd in his hand and shouted, "How dare you rebel? I'll kill you to show my power." The battle halberd was powerful, and it was suffused with a thick yellow color. It collided with the skinny monkey's fire staff. Bang! The two different forces collided, and there were bursts of xianqi sparks that flew in all directions. The two had just exchanged blows, and it was obvious who was stronger and who was weaker. Gao Fengyan's strength couldn't compare to the skinny monkey's, and the skinny monkey's fire staff still had power to smash towards Gao Fengyan. Gao Fengyan was shocked. He swung his battle halberd to meet the attack, but when he came into contact with this force, he was immediately thrown off his feet. He couldn't withstand the skinny monkey's strength at all. The 2,000 soldiers behind Gao Fengyan all attacked, and a lot of power blasted towards the skinny monkey. Only a few dozen of these 2,000 soldiers were at the general realm. The rest were mostly at the warrior realm. How could they pose a threat to the skinny monkey? Kill! The members of the Death Legion all shouted in unison, and then they charged madly again. They combined all their strength into a spear, and with the combination of their powerful aura and strength, the spear smashed into the 2,000 enemy soldiers. The 2,000 soldiers were completely crushed like paper. They couldn't withstand a single blow, and all of them screamed in pain. Fortunately, Lu Ji put down the battle flag in time and didn't let them launch a second wave of attacks. Otherwise, all 2,000 soldiers would have died. At this time, the city lord, Gao Ruehua, finally appeared. He brought his 2 sons and a group of experts with him, and he rode over on his demonic beast. He shouted, "Which general wants to attack my high cliff city? Let me see." Gao Ruehua didn't look old. His strong face vaguely showed that he was young and handsome. It was no wonder that he could give birth to a beautiful daughter like the nation's mother. The 2 middle-aged men beside him were his eldest son, Gao Junsheng, and his second son, Gao Yangxiang. They were both kings. Others said that the empress had helped the Gao family obtain a large amount of resources and helped the Gao family to become kings. That was how they became the city lords. However, that was not the case. Before the empress married into the imperial family, the Gao family was the overlord of this area. They had found a large mine and made contributions to the imperial court. At the same time, they had also gained a lot, which allowed their family to become kings. Over the years, the Gao family had been very high profile, dominating High Cliff City and acting like a tyrant. Even if a high-ranking official from the imperial court passed by, the Gao family would show them their power and force them to abide by the Gao family's rules. The emperor also turned a blind eye to this and didn't pay too much attention to it, as long as they didn't do anything out of line. Now, Yang Wu was eager to return home. The Gao family was undoubtedly provoking his anger by blocking his path. "City Lord Gao, I want to return to the imperial city. You want to stop me?" Yang Wu sat cross-legged on the silver-patterned tortoise and asked Gao Ruehua, "Who are you? How dare you speak to my father like that?" Gao Junsheng pointed his weapon at Yang Wu and reprimanded him. "Who do you think you are? My big brother is the guardian general, Count Yang Wu of Shaowu. If you dare point your sword at him again, I'll break your arm," Shouho shouted as he carried his broken staff. "You are Yang Wu?" Gao Ruehua frowned and asked Yang Wu. "Yes, I am Yang Wu," Yang Wu replied. "Haha, it's really a case of family not recognizing each other." Gao Ruehua laughed loudly. Then he squinted his eyes and said to Yang Wu, "Grandson-in-law, hurry up and greet your grandfather." Yang Wu frowned and said, "City Lord Gao, are you trying to take advantage of me? Do you want to start a war?" The soldiers of the Death Legion were once again on alert, ready to launch an attack at any time. No, I am Princess Xiaohan's grandfather. You are already preparing to marry her, so it's natural for you to call me grandfather. Don't you all think so?" Gao Ruehua said, "So you are my nephew's son-in-law. You really are a talent." Gao Junsheng smiled. Gao Yangxiang also smiled and said, "Not bad, not bad. Nephew's son-in-law, your soldiers are very powerful. Hurry up and get down from your horse. Let's have a good gathering." The people of the Gao family also praised, treating Yang Wu as one of their own. Yang Wu waited for them to finish speaking and said, "Everyone, I have urgent matters to attend to in King City. I am not in the mood to talk about these things for the time being. Please make way." Gao Ruehua could tell from Yang Wu's words that Yang Wu was dissatisfied with the marriage, so he asked in a displeased tone, "What? Do you have some objections to this marriage?" Yang Wu replied, "Wait until we get back to King City. I will make a decision. Please make way. Don't think you can pass if you don't make things clear." Gao Ruehua replied strongly, "Nephew's son-in-law, don't be impulsive. Are you going to go against the decree just because of that woman beside you?" Gao Junsheng looked at Meng Bingxue behind Yang Wu and said. Gao Yangxiang also said, "That's right. As the emperor's son-in-law, You can't have 3 wives and 4 concubines. You can only love the princess. You have to clean up the women around you." After pausing for a moment, he smiled and said, "If you don't have the heart to clean them up, then let me do it for you. Soldiers, listen to my order. Full speed ahead. Whoever gets in the way will die." Yang Wu's expression turned cold as he shouted, "Yes." The 1,500 soldiers shouted in unison. Then, Yang Wu took the lead and led Meng Bingxue, Wanlan Xin, Shou Ho, Lu Ji, and the others forward. They completely ignored Gao Ruihua and the others who were blocking their way. "Impudent! Stop right there." Gao Ruihua released the aura of a high-level king. Behind him, his 3 sons also released the aura of a king. They wanted to stop Yang Wu and the others. Yang Wu was already at the end of his patience. He lightly patted the silver-patterned turtle and said, "Let me see how strong you have become." After the silver-patterned turtle received the demonic king pill and the ice flood dragon's flesh from Yang Wu, its demonic chi had undergone an earth-shattering change. It was now a high-level demonic king. The speed of its growth was truly shocking. "Young master, just watch." The silver-patterned turtle revealed a ferocious expression as it replied. In the next moment, its body became even bigger, and its demonic aura was quite terrifying. Wisps of icy aura flowed around its body, and the intertwining silver patterns formed a powerful offensive light shield that rushed towards Gao Ruihua. The silver-patterned turtle's battle strength was already very strong. It had once fought 4 king-level kings. Now that it had broken through to a high-level demonic king and possessed the flood dragon's aura, it was even more powerful than before. Gao Ruihua was shocked. He didn't expect Yang Wu's mount to be a high-level demonic king. Without thinking, he sent out 2 palms in an attempt to break the silver-patterned turtle's light shield. Bang, bang. The power in his palms was quite strong. It could easily destroy a mountain. However, when his palms came into contact with the silver-patterned turtle's light shield, not only did they not break, but they were also repelled by the power of the ice, causing frostbite to his palms. "Not good. Retreat." Gao Ruihua cried out involuntarily. He was the first to fly up. Behind him, his 3 sons didn't dare to delay after hearing his words. They also quickly soared into the sky, avoiding the silver-patterned turtle's power. They were king-level kings, so they could escape. However, the people behind them were knocked off their feet and screamed in pain. They were also frozen by the cold chi. "Yang Wu, how dare you?" Gao Ruihua shouted at Yang Wu. Yang Wu said calmly, "Don't embarrass yourself. I don't believe that a mere demonic king dares to slap my Gao family's face." Gao Ruihua cursed loudly. He drew out his battle weapon and slashed it down angrily. This was a king's saber. The power of the saber slash was quite shocking. It was 30% stronger than the previous attack. "Old thing, if Grandpa Turtle doesn't show his power, do you think I'm a sick cat?" The silver-patterned turtle was fierce to begin with. It had been suppressed by Yang Wu for a while. Now that it had a chance to vent, how could it let go of it? After cursing loudly, it punched out with its palm. Overlord Fist. This punch already contained some fist intent. Its power was even more domineering and powerful. It was as if the power of ice and water had condensed into a river. It immediately shattered Gao Ruihua's saber ray. It was completely unstoppable. Gao Ruihua completely didn't expect his attack to be so weak. He quickly dodged this punch, but he was still half a step too late. The power of the fist brushed past his shoulder, and it exploded on the spot. "Father!" Gao Ruihua's 3 sons exclaimed. They all rushed over to help. "All of you, eat the Overlord Fist!" The silver-patterned turtle shouted excitedly. It continuously punched out. How could Gao Ruihua's 3 sons withstand its power? They were all beaten until their profound wings collapsed, and their bodies fell down. Just as the silver-patterned turtle was about to pursue, Gao Ruihua hurriedly shouted, "Stop fighting! Stop fighting! We'll let them go! We'll let them go!" He was afraid that if he shouted any slower, the silver-patterned turtle would kill both him and his son. "If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have tried to stop me," Yang Wu said indifferently. Then he stopped the silver-patterned turtle and led a group of people away from High Cliff City in a domineering manner. Gao Ruihua waited for Yang Wu's group to leave before he cried out in pain. This old man is angry to death. I'll go to the capital tomorrow. I must stop this marriage and have the emperor completely erase this child. That's right. This child has thoughts of rebellion. He must be killed. Gao Junjie said fiercely as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. I'll tell younger sister, Xiao Han can't marry this kind of renegade. Gao Yang said. Gao Feng Yin also cursed. This brat only made some military achievements, and he's already so arrogant. If he becomes the emperor's son-in-law, he must be killed. Chapter 314. The news of the Death Legion charging through High Cliff City spread like the wind to Monarch City. When the major forces in Monarch City heard the news, they all had different reactions. Some applauded. Some felt that the new son-in-law was too domineering and didn't even give face to his grandfather's family. There were also rumors that Yang Wu was going to rebel. In short, there were all kinds of rumors. Before Yang Wu returned to Monarch City, his name had already shaken the city. A year ago, the Yang family's literary star, Yang Wan, stunned Great Xia. A year later, the Yang family's Earl, Xiaowu, barged into High Cliff City. The Yang family's literary and martial talents were destined to become a legend in Great Xia. In the blink of an eye, Yang Wu and the others had already arrived at the Inkstone Ridge outside Monarch City. The Inkstone Ridge was a mountain ridge dozens of miles away from Monarch City. There were many short mountains and forests, as well as plains where low-level spirit demons and wild beasts lived. It was the favorite hunting ground of Monarch City's people and also the hunting ground of the royal family from time to time. Arriving at the Inkstone Ridge meant that they would be able to reach Monarch City in about half a day. At this moment, Yang Wu sensed a murderous aura. He hurriedly waved his hand to stop the soldiers. Soldiers, get into formation to protect yourselves first, Yang Wu shouted. Lu Ji sat on the dragon-blooded horse, waved his flag, and said, Defend. The 1,500 human generals took their positions and formed a circular shield. Every one of their auras began to form profound armor vigor to protect themselves. Furthermore, their auras joined together to form a large defensive formation. At this moment, a rock suddenly came crashing down in their direction from one of the mountains. These rocks were like meteorites that kept falling down. They contained great power, and those who were hit would definitely die on spot. Attack! Lu Ji shouted as he circulated his dantian. The 1,500 soldiers attacked the rocks at the same time. The power of the formation they formed erupted at the same time. Its power had already surpassed the power of an ordinary king and shattered all the falling rocks. This was the power of a formation formed by 1,500 human generals, enough to kill King Tears. This kind of power could only be achieved by Lu Zhiji, who was proficient in formations or even at the stage of great success. Others did not understand the Tao of array formations, so it was impossible for them to do this. Lu Ji was just a weak scholar. It was already not easy for him to train the soldiers of the Death Legion to this point. If he became a warrior, with the help of a higher-level array, he would have the ability to turn something rotten into something magical. However, the rocks that were smashed by the other party were merely appetizers. More than a dozen figures flew out, and each of them had different colored profound wings. Their majestic auras were rather powerful, and they were all King Realm experts. They didn't say a word and directly blasted out different kinds of attack power. Dozens of power blasted towards Yang Wu and the others with the force of a thunderbolt. Looks like some people still haven't given up, Yang Wu said faintly as he wiped away his killing intent. On Yang Wu's side, Shouho, Wan Lanxin, Xueji, and Du Guang Fo immediately charged up, including the Fire Cloud Tiger. This kind of power was not enough to fight against the other party. Yang Wu let the silver-patterned turtle attack, while he and Meng Bingxue suppressed and did not make a move. After becoming a King Realm expert, I haven't killed anyone properly. Today, I'll kill to my heart's content, Du Guang Fo shouted with a bloodthirsty expression. I also want to see how powerful a King Realm expert is. Xueji laughed shrilly. With a flick of her finger, needles pierced towards the King Realm experts that were charging over. Wan Lanxin suppressed a bellyful of anger. She definitely didn't want Yang Wu to become some kind of son-in-law, but she also had a feeling of helplessness. She had to vent her anger on the other party. The most powerful of these people was still Shou Ho. His eyes flickered with golden flames, and the broken staff in his hand exuded an intimidating power. He locked onto the 3 strongest King Realm experts and shouted, "Those who stop my big brother from entering the city will die." The Silver Pattern Turtle and the Fire Cloud Tiger also released their demonic might. The Silver Pattern Turtle's battle prowess was the strongest, and none of the dozen or so King Realm experts could match it in a one-on-one battle. As for the Fire Cloud Tiger, it could spit out solid, demonic flames that soared into the sky. For a moment, the auras of 2 different King Realm experts clashed together, and there was a series of shocking explosions in the air. None of the dozen or so King Realm experts were mediocre. They were the 13 great thief kings, and each of their hands were stained with blood. They specialized in raiding and robbing. The Great Thief King was a mid-level King Realm expert who was only a step away from becoming a high-level King Realm expert. When the 13 Great Thieves Kings worked together, even high-level kings would have to retreat. The 13 Great Thieves Kings appeared here to stop Yang Wu's group. They probably didn't know the strength of Yang Wu's group. If they did, they definitely wouldn't have dared to take on this job. However, the 13 Great Thieves Kings weren't the real killers. The real killers had yet to come. Ding dong, ding dong. Waves of austere sound waves rang out. No one knew where these sound waves came from, but they caused the soldiers of the Death Legion to feel as if they had lost their spirit. The power that they had gathered quietly dissipated, and everyone felt drowsy. Lu Ji didn't have any energy to protect himself, so he fainted on the spot. Yang Wu's mind was also affected. It was just like when he was stimulated by the soul touch, Vine, King's mental power. This was a mental attack. Fortunately, Yang Wu had the God's Court Dao Flower. This bit of mental power could hurt high-level kings, but it couldn't hurt him. Yang Wu used his mental power to sense the direction of the sound waves, and 2 figures appeared in his mind. One was a blind man playing a zither, and the other was a deaf man playing a lute. The 5th on the Black Hand leaderboard was the blind zither and the deaf lute. The 2 of them were already very old. They were wearing strange decorations and were leaning against each other. They relied on their sound ability to kill their enemies. They were the strangest killer combination. The sound of the zither was soul-stirring, and the arpeggios were endless. Bing Xue, protect them, Yang Wu said to Meng Bing Xue, and then he used his wind god's kick to rush toward the 2. When the blind zither and the deaf lute sensed Yang Wu rushing toward them, they played even faster. The sound waves formed 18 different kinds of weapons and rushed toward Yang Wu. This was still a mental attack, and it was aimed at Yang Wu's head. It was going to destroy Yang Wu's soul. Yang Wu had fought with the Soul Contact Vine King in the swamp of the mountain range, so he already knew how to use the Divine Court Dao Flower to defend himself. The petals of the flower danced, blocking all the sound waves that rushed in. It didn't cause too much damage to him. Instead, it stimulated his soul-type potential talent to produce an inexplicable feeling. It seemed to be awakening. At the same time, his God's Core Dao Flower was still beating. His soul, which was already solid, was emitting a strange power. It was like a ball of mental light was condensing. Yang Wu felt pain between his eyebrows, as if something was going to break. He thought it was the other's attack that made him feel pain. He shouted angrily, "Die, you scoundrel!" Yang Wu ran faster and faster, creating deep pits on the ground. He leaped dozens of feet, and when he bounced up into the air, his feet repeatedly kicked out. Wind God Kick. This was the integration of the scimitar kick into the talent, increasing the power of the talent. In an instant, there were 49 variations in the kick. This was the perfect stage of a scimitar kick. The earth-shattering power was kicked towards the deaf and blind zither. This power was so strong and domineering that wherever it passed, trees turned into powder. Sand and stones tumbled, unable to stop it. Blind plucked the zither strings, while deaf plucked the arpeggio strings. All of their mental energy was poured into it, and the sound was loud. Their mental energy skyrocketed. Not only did they attack Yang Wu's god's court, but they also materialized and attacked Yang Wu's body. Bang bang. In an instant, the leg flare collided with the power of the sound waves. The power of the sound waves was shattered by the leg flare, but some of it still rushed toward Yang Wu. This kind of power was impossible to guard against. It wasn't something that anyone could block. The fact that blind zither and deaf peepa could be ranked in the top 5 of the Black Hand ranking was enough to prove how terrifying their abilities were. Unfortunately, they had encountered Yang Wu and not other king tiers. Their power couldn't cause any harm to Yang Wu. The mental energy condensed in Yang Wu's god's court's soul formed an I and was imprinted in the glabella of his soul. His glabella felt more and more uncomfortable. The feeling of wanting to split open, but unable to do so, made him feel rather uncomfortable. Open for me. Yang Wu urged all the power in his body, including the power of his bloodline. In an instant, it boiled and exploded, forcing the glabella to open. There seemed to be a third eye there, and a wisp of power shot out, directly attacking blind zither and deaf peepa. After a beam of light shot out from between Yang Wu's eyebrows, deaf lute and blind zither both let out blood-curdling screams and fell to the ground on the spot. They were already dead. Yang Wu felt that the power of his god's court Dao flower had been greatly reduced. He couldn't maintain the third eye anymore. His glabella healed again, and his mind was in a daze. He murmured, "Is this the power of my soul-type talent?" He was not destined to see the strange light in the eyes of the little black dog behind him. It was as if it had seen a female dog coming out of the bath. Its eyes were about to pop out, and its tongue was constantly moving in and out. Saliva was constantly flowing out of its mouth. It was shouting excitedly in its heart. "I understand why he is the fated one. He is the same as Master and has the same magical powers. This is great." Yang Wu couldn't hear Little Hei's words. He was still in a daze, not understanding how his talent had killed the two in front of him. He checked and found that the two had no injuries at all. They had died inexplicably just like that. Before he could figure out, another 3 powerful auras locked onto him and blasted towards him. Chapter 3:15. Number 2 on the Black Hand list, Twisting Hand Zhu Qing. This was a woman whose face had been ruined. Her twisting hand was like a ghostly hand, revealing deep white bones. Once wrapped around by her bones, not only would one be crushed to death, but they would also be sucked dry of their blood essence. She was an extremely terrifying, high-level king-level expert. Number 3 on the Black Hand list, Leopard Head. This was a beast man whose body contained the blood of demonic beasts. As the power of his bloodline changed, he grew a leopard's head. Everyone was afraid of him, and he loved to eat human flesh. His notoriety spread far and wide. Number 4 on the Black Hand list, Drunkard Fei Huqing. He loved alcohol as much as his life. Without alcohol, he couldn't be happy. With alcohol, he could take one's life. He had once been ranked number 1 on the Black Hand list. Unfortunately, there were many geniuses in this generation. He was old and couldn't keep his position. The 3 high-level king-level experts were all people with special methods. It wasn't difficult for them to fight against peak-level king-level experts. After Blind Sheen and Deaf Peepa died in battle, they had already appeared from 3 different directions, locking onto Yang Wu. Their main mission was to kill Yang Wu, regardless of the cost. First, Twisting Hand Zhu Qing threw 3 pseudo-fire bombs at Yang Wu. The tyrannical power of the explosion was earth-shattering, blasting the area into a deep crater. "This is straightforward," Zhu Qing said coldly. "Is that so?" Yang Wu's voice faintly resounded in the air above them. The 3 raised their heads at the same time, revealing astonished expressions. They really didn't know when Yang Wu had snuck up on top of them. "Interesting. Let me tear you to shreds." Leopardhead spat and rushed up. His speed was like a cheetah pouncing on its prey. It was incomparably shocking. Leopard bite. His leopard head enlarged, and so did his mouth. Just like that, he violently swallowed Yang Wu. He was indeed worthy of being ranked number 3 on the Black Hand list. Zhu Qing and the drunkard weren't idle. They had been paying attention to Yang Wu just now. They knew that Yang Wu's battle prowess was extraordinary. They had to work together to kill Yang Wu. They couldn't afford the slightest bit of carelessness or slackness. Twisting hand. Zhu Qing leaped up and stretched out his bone-revealing arms, which contained a binding power that enveloped Yang Wu. These energies were as sticky as a spider's. Once they were stuck, even a top-notch king would not be able to struggle free and would be strangled to death. Drunken eight fists. After the drunkard gulped down a mouthful of wine, his body swayed left and right as he twisted his body into the air. His fists continuously punched out with unpredictable trajectories towards Yang Wu. The drunken fist contained fist intent. A single punch could shatter the earth and shatter mountains and rivers. 3 high-level King Realm warriors attacked at the same time. 3 different kinds of power sealed off the surroundings, and all of them wanted to kill Yang Wu. I'll use you guys to train my wind god's kick. Yang Wu's perception was extraordinary. The other party's attack was not weak, but it was far from being able to threaten him. He flashed his profound wings and kicked out madly with both his legs. The wind god's legs was superimposed on the scud kick, and the kick shadows were extremely fast and powerful. It was divided into 3 parts to face off against the 3 experts. Rumble, rumble. The 4 people's energies were constantly exploding. It was as if fireworks were exploding in the sky, dyeing the ground in all directions. The 3 people on the Black Hand ranking attacked very quickly. They did not hold back at all. Their endless, terrifying techniques were impossible to guard against. Zhu Qing's energy was sticky and bound Yang Wu's body. Leopard Head and the drunkard took the opportunity to dismember Yang Wu. Yang Wu was still incomparably calm. He sneered and said, "Is this all you've got? The people on the Black Hand ranking are too disappointing." Yang Wu allowed Zhu Qing to stick to his legs. With the flashing of his profound wings, he was still able to dodge their attacks. He channeled energy into his legs, and the power of the wind god's legs increased greatly. He forcefully broke free from Zhu Qing's bindings and threw out a dozen kicks, causing the 3 of them to retreat. He still has energy that he hasn't used yet. Don't hold back anymore. Zhu Qing said to the 2 beside him. To be able to gain the respect of the barbarian race, the young king's methods are indeed extraordinary. But today he will still die. Leopard Head roared, "Come, it's been a long time since I felt so good." The drunkard said with a dazed expression. In the next moment, the 3 of them unleashed their ultimate moves. They were determined to fight to the death with Yang Wu. Yang Wu, on the other hand, was incomparably calm. He had climbed the heavenly stairway, and his body had been pushed to the limit. Even if he did not use his profound qi, he could still compete with them. Not to mention that he could use his profound qi, and he was only using 50% of his strength. Yang Wu circulated his energy and continuously channeled the gushing acupoint spring. The innate talent of the wind god's legs was becoming more and more obvious. He decided to use the power of his legs to defeat them. It was not so easy to develop one's innate talent into the ultimate killing move. Entangling hand of silk. Leopard Head devours the moon. Drunken eight fists, drunken exquisite. Zhu Qing's entire body was emitting power. Between his claws, strands of power jumped like spiderwebs, forming a domain. It enveloped Yang Wu, wrapping him within, tearing his body apart and crushing his bones. Leopard Head, on the other hand, was imposing. He used both his mouth and claws, opening his mouth wide as if he wanted to swallow the moon. His power exploded as his claws tore apart the dome of the sky. The drunkard's figure transformed into 4 shadows. Each shadow was crooked, and they continuously threw out different drunken punches. Each punch was incomparably tricky, and they were all aimed at Yang Wu's vital points. After these 3 waves of power overlapped, the destructive power they created was even more astonishing. No matter which king came here, they would first have to avoid the attack, not daring to challenge it. Yang Wu raised his leg, and like a sickle, he chopped down vertically. One kick after another exploded, forming a storm of power. At the same time, He resisted the power of these three high-rank kings. Another earth-shaking explosion rang out. The trees on the mountain below fell and rose, and even more were blasted into powder. One of Zhu Qing's arms was broken by Yang Wu's kick, and his disfigured face revealed a look of horror and discomfort. Leopard Head was in an even worse state. His head was kicked open by Yang Wu on the spot, and blood kept gushing out. The drunkard was not much better. He was kicked in the abdomen by Yang Wu, and his body was heavily smashed to the ground, creating a deep pit. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The three high-rank kings were unable to withstand a single blow from Yang Wu. Under the pressure of these three high-rank kings, Yang Wu's use of the wind god's leg became more flexible. He longed to integrate more leg techniques and continue to increase his leg power. Before Yang Wu could feel proud, he sensed an inexplicable danger. A disgusting thing fell from the sky. Without thinking, he kicked out, wanting to destroy this thing. These things scattered on the spot, turning into venom that poured down on his body. Even if he had the defense of the black battle armor, it was still corroded. Gua-gua, a strange sound rang out, and hearing it made one's hair stand on end. Yang would use his own strength to block this overbearing venom, but for a moment, his flesh felt itchy and unbearable. This was a very terrifying poison. If it was anyone else, they would have died upon contact with this venom. This was because this was the famous toad venom. This also meant that the number one Black Hand King, the poison toad, had arrived. Goo goo, the three of you can't even kill this brat. What a useless piece of trash. The voice rang out faintly. When Zhu Qing, Leopard Head, and the drunkard heard this voice, they did not dare to refute. They all hid as far away as possible. They were already heavily injured and could no longer fight. Poison Toad, I hope you can kill him, Zhu Qing said faintly. She had lost an arm, so she hated Yang Wu to the core. Leopard Head, on the other hand, was speechless. His head was bleeding too much. Even if he ate a healing pill in time, it would be difficult for it to heal immediately. He might even die from excessive blood loss. The drunkard did not dare to get drunk anymore. He rolled and crawled away from the battlefield, continuously eating pills. He felt that his internal organs were about to rupture. He did not know if he could live past today. This was the first time they regretted accepting such a mission. This youth king was not someone they could fight against. Acting all mysterious, get the hell out here, Yang Wu said sternly. He kicked out in one direction, and the shadow of his foot swept out over 10 feet, forcing the other party to come out. An extremely ugly man walked out. There were disgusting pustules on his head, and his body was suffused with a black poisonous gas. His body was entwined with many poisonous insects and snakes. He was truly a terrifying poison man. The number one Black Hand King, the Poison Toad. He was a top-notch king who could be ranked in the top 10 kings of the Xia. Each of the top 10 kings of the Xia was incomparably stunning. They all had their own potential divine ability, which was why they could be ranked in the top 10. For example, Fun Tianxiong could destroy the burning flame. For example, the Death War King had the Tao of Death. Another example was Shui Gui's Tao of Weapon Refinement. And this poison toad in front of him had the innate talent of poison. The poison toad had swallowed hundreds of types of poison and continuously strengthened his physique. At the same time, he had turned himself into something that was neither human nor ghost. It was worth it to have his current strength. In order to kill Yang Wu, those people had invited the top 10 of the Black Hand leaderboard, including the number one poison toad in front of him. It was obvious that the other party really wanted to kill him. You are not bad to be able to stand after being stained by my poison, but you still have to die. The poison toad looked up at Yang Wu and said, "You can come and try." Yang Wu replied. His body was impervious to all poisons. Even the most tyrannical poison could be dissolved into nothingness. Why would he be afraid of the toad's poison? Croak, croak. Stop showing off. Even if you have powerful Xian Qi to suppress my poison, you won't be able to hold on for long. Die. The poison toad laughed and soared into the sky. Moreover, it spat out a ball of extremely disgusting poison. I feel that fighting with you will dirty my hands. I will kill you in one move. Yangwu looked at the poisoned toad with disgust in his eyes. As he dodged the other party's poison, he used his ice blade wings to attack. Not only could the ice blade wings materialize and become his wings, but it could also kill invisible enemies. It was the potential innate talent of his kidney. The ice blade wings flashed past like invisible rays of light. They were like sharp blades that could destroy anything. They quickly swept towards the poisoned toad. The poisoned toad didn't know what was going on. It felt a pain in its head and was ruthlessly cut open. Puffed.